Coming to you from the mountains and the plain. The only conservative voices brave enough to push back. This is the Conservative Daily Podcast with Joe Otto.
That's what the Second Amendment was designed to do. If you're going to do something to nullify or take away my rights under the Constitution, come get it.
Max McGuire.
When you look at politicians on the left, they need to convince people that they are victims.
A resistance to the resistance. And now your hosts, Joe Otto and Max McGuire.
And welcome back to a special edition of the Conservative Daily Podcast. Yeah, we'll put the audio version of this up. We are doing the debate watch party, and then we're also going to be doing a hot wing challenge. Brief little side, my wife is due any day now, so I can't drink, so we didn't have a drinking game tonight, just so I don't feel tempted. But I had to do something to give people what they want to see, which is me doing horrible things to my body for internet points. So we settled on hot wings, and we got a lot of them. So let me go ahead and put them up on camera, just so people know that this is real. These are wings from Wing It, and then they are dressed in an assortment of sauces, ranging from 1,200 Scoville Heat Units all the way up to 2 million plus Scoville Heat Units. And just for comparison's sake, a jalapeno pepper is usually around 5,000 to 8,000, like eating one right off the vine. So 2 million Scoville is very, very hot. So we're going to do this in a very simple way. Mr. Producer, let's run through the actual images. We have right here. Great. So these are the 9 hot sauces. We have Tabasco, Chipotle, Sriracha, El Yucateco, and then this is where we get into the hotter stuff. We have Son of Zombie by Torchbearer, little airplane bottle. Then it goes to one of my personal favorites, which is Professor Fart Pounder's colon cleaner. Comes in a little elixir bottle. I like that. I also like the colorful name. Then you start getting into real heat. You start getting into the garlic Reaper sauce made with Carolina Reapers. That is 116. This is the death of me. This is the only one I'm afraid of tonight. Da Bomb Beyond Insanity. Oh, I gotta put it lower. You can't see it because it's green on green screen. Da Bomb Beyond Insanity. The only one I'm worried about tonight. Anyone who's had it knows why. It's hotter to me than some of the other ones. Then you get up to 500,000 Scoville, which you get Torchbearer's Zombie Apocalypse. There we go. Zombie Apocalypse. And then finally, anyone who likes the show Hot Ones, which is just kind of being modeled after, you get the last dab. 2 million Scoville units. So that's how we're going to do it. Every 10 minutes. Rules are simple. I'm not allowed to drink any milk or any dairy products until after the debate is over. By dairy product, I mean it has to qualify for food stamps. Let's do welfare rules. Welfare rules are in effect. It has to qualify as dairy according to the federal government for purposes of welfare. So I have a couple of loopholes. My main loophole is going to be this bad boy, because this does not count as a dairy product. It's a nitrogen stout. A lot of people don't know. It's you don't want to drink beer with hot wings. The carbonation actually makes it worse. But nitrogen and nitroed beers can make it better, and especially a stout that has a little bit of milk added in the process of making it can make it a little bit better. Also, another way to trick your taste buds, I don't think I'll have to use it, but it's a backup just in case. If you're eating something really, really hot and it's killing you, you trick your taste buds by drinking something really, really sour. You can't say this because it's green screened, but lime juice, lemon juice. So that is an emergency backup. And then, just in case, chocolate. The oils in chocolate can help dissolve the capsaicin off of your tongue. That's what does it. It's the capsaicin. So capsaicin, it's an oil-based problem. So water doesn't help. Water does not help with hot sauces, because anyone who's ever tried to do oil paint and then tried to wash it up with water, you really can't. So that's why milk high in fats tends to help. I have milk for when it's over, but can't use it until it's over. So we're going to be doing this every 10 minutes, starting at 9 o'clock, one wing every 10 minutes, going up progressively until we get to the last dab at 10:20. Conveniently, 9 wings, 90 minutes. Going to be fun. So make sure you hit that share button. I don't want to do this for nothing. Again, I'm doing this for internet points. Make sure you hit the share button. Make sure you like and comment on Facebook. Make sure you give us a thumbs up on YouTube. Hit the subscribe button if you haven't already. Hit the bell for notifications. We're going to have the text start going out. I think the first text just went out a minute ago. We have so many people now signed up for our text list. We have to stagger them. Otherwise, they'll get us for spam. So I think they're going to be going out every 5 minutes. Katie says, what about ghee? Yes, ghee would work. I don't even know if that's how you pronounce it. Ghee, it's anyone who doesn't know, it's like what is it? Technically like an Indian kind of butter. I guess that would work. I think that would qualify as a dairy product. So my own rules, I don't want to break my own rules. So I do have this. I'll do this early on. It is kind of cheating, but until we get to the really hot stuff, I don't really care. I do have an assorted medley of carrots and celery with a little bit of ranch dressing. I won't use the ranch dressing to get past to help with any of the hot stuff, but for the first 30 minutes, I don't need ranch dressing to deal with sriracha. So I don't feel that it's that big of a deal. People saying they just got their text, awesome. So let me know what you're drinking. Let me know what you're eating in the comments section, what you're going to be doing tonight. Again, I don't expect anyone to do this. If you want to eat a hot wing along with me, more the merrier. Mr. Producer Josh, actually, he's going to come on camera for the first time. First ever. Josh on camera at the very end because, funny enough, Joe is in Vegas right now. He's doing a charity golf tournament, and we got him a bottle of the last dab, and he was supposed to bring it with him. Well, I was on the phone with him last night, and he's like, do I really need to do this? I said, yes. And he said, do I need to put in a check bag? I said, yes. It's too many ounces. They won't let you on with it. He said, okay. Sure enough, he left it on his desk at the office. So he had no intention of doing the last dab. We'll give him a little bit of crap for it when he comes on. He's going to be a little late. But in lieu of him, Josh is going to come on camera and do apparently a spoonful of it. I mean, this isn't a spoonful of sugar makes the medicine go down. I don't know why
Max,
anyone would do a spoon.
I am not afraid. I am not afraid. I will be
He's not afraid.
When we get to the last dab portion, I will pour some in a spoon. I will turn on my camera, and I will put it on my tongue, and then we will all watch as two of us begin to cry.
Yeah.
And I can't actually wait to see what happens.
Hey, speak for yourself. Speak for yourself. Yeah, and this is the glory of this. Anyone who doesn't know how online streaming works, views are great, but we also want watch hours. So the glory of this is that love everyone's here. By putting the hottest wing towards the end, we're going to get a lot more watch hours because people are going to want to see me get destroyed by this. And I think it'll destroy me. I think that the combination of the last dab, the torchbearer one, and the bomb is just going to kill me. I've tried every single one except for, I tried every single one yesterday except for the bomb. And I just can't. Maybe it's a traumatic experience in my past. I can't do it. So it'll be fun. It'll be fun. Internet points. Make sure you like, comment, share. Make sure that you subscribe, hit the bell for notifications on YouTube, and then give us that thumbs up. I don't want to see any thumbs down. So, but let's talk a little bit about the politics of this because we do still have a debate happening in 21 minutes. The last and final debate, Donald Trump versus Joe Biden. They canceled the previous debate for absolutely no reason. Donald Trump was healthy. Joe Biden was healthy.
Has swallowed America.
Let's turn that
system,
down.
The financial system, healthcare, and our
C-SPAN serving us an ad. Can we skip the ad? If we can't skip the ad, that's fine. They're showing us what? What's this? I don't want to watch this.
It would appear It appears they are giving us old debates before the actual debate.
I don't know if I like this. I don't think I like this one bit. C-SPAN. We're using C-SPAN because I don't want to get copy striked by anyone. So we can jump to this until it comes on. Yeah, they're live, and they're just, I guess, going to be showing us old debates for the next half an hour. Okay. No, Josh, you got put to a different one. Go back. It's live. Refresh your screen. It's you got pushed to. No, you got pushed to a different URL. They must have canceled it and redone it. I'll send you the link. That's the link. It works. They're live. We don't have to play the audio, but this is where the Commission on Presidential Debates comes out and explains how they're not complete a-holes. And they lie to you. Check that out, Mr. Producer. It should work. It's live for me. So we got a couple things that Donald Trump has to do. He has to land a kill shot. He has to come in with at least one or two prepared lines that are just going to be complete zingers. He can't just go by. He can't just ad-lib it, right? Last time around, the "you be in jail" to Hillary Clinton was a complete winner. And the Commission on Presidential Debates, the moderator, are going to do everything they're possible to give it to Joe Biden. That's why they picked almost all the same topics. We're not actually going to learn anything new. These are almost all the same topics by what we saw in the first debate. They're just going to have, I guess, redo the debate. It's incredible. There's no foreign policy. There's no talk of immigration. This is the first time that there won't be an immigration section in any of the presidential debates. So, very interesting. People are, Mike just mentioned on YouTube that, yes, they are going to be cutting the mics. This is how it's going to work tonight. So you have each side, Trump and Biden will each get 2 minutes uninterrupted to answer the question. And what that means is that their other mic will be turned off. So if it's Trump's turn to do 2 minutes, Biden's will be off. If it's Biden's turn to do 2 minutes, Trump's will be off. Then once they've each had their 2 minutes, then both mics are turned on and it's a free for all. So personally, I like it. I mean, you should have the right to do 2 minutes. Now, at the same time, you can't go over those 2 minutes. Joe Biden was getting some funny business from Chris Wallace in the first one, going over his time. And Chris Wallace was like giving him extra, almost like stoppage time in soccer. Anytime Donald Trump interjected, he gave him an extra 5-10 seconds. It was actually ridiculous. But okay, so Mr. Producer Josh says we're back ready to go. Are we ready to put that back on? Awesome. We're not going to give you Janet Brown's.
They're currently going through it.
We're not going to give you Janet Brown's audio. I can't imagine that she has anything all that exciting to say. She doesn't look like a very exciting woman. She definitely doesn't look like she's about to eat a bunch of really spicy hot wings for internet points. So more people coming out stage. I'm not really interested. Mr. Producer, just make sure that you hit the live button on the YouTube stream to make sure that we're live. Okay, we're good. So besides that, another really interesting thing, Donald Trump has a special guest tonight in the audience. I want to make sure I pronounce his name right. Trump was excellent at this last time around. He was excellent about this. He brought Bill Clinton's victims to Joe Biden's victims to the debate, and no, it's not Joe Biden. Bill Clinton's victims to the debate, and there was this one look where Bill Clinton was just side-eyeing them. It was classic. But apparently, Donald Trump is bringing the former Hunter Biden's former business partner, who is now flipped. I want to make sure I get his name right. I don't want to mispronounce it. I've talked to a couple people about it today, and Tony Babulinski. Tony Babulinski will be a special guest tonight. So it'll be really interesting when Trump does bring it up, which we've been told he will. If Biden says it's uncorroborated or it's not true, Donald Trump can just point right to the front row and say, nope, Tony Babulinski's here. He corroborates it. What are you going to say now? I hope he does that. I really do hope he does that. So, yes, the Hunter Biden business associate who has verified the veracity of a lot of these emails, he is going to be Donald Trump's special guest for tonight. I don't know if 50 Cent, Christopher says 50 Cent. I don't know if 50 Cent is going to be doing it. Michelle said, did you see his presser? I didn't see his presser because I was setting up the wings. I'm sure it was good. I'm surprised if the media even covered it. But it's going to be an interesting night. And I truly believe that KT says, drink everything in your house if the FBI shows up and arrests Biden. I don't think that's going to happen. I think that's why it's so important to actually appoint a special counsel. Sidebar, they need a special counsel for this. Absolutely. Like the FBI and DOJ have proven that they're either unwilling or unable to investigate Joe Biden for whatever reason. And that's what the special counsel statute's for. It's not for made-up Russian collusion allegations from the Hillary Clinton campaign. The FBI sat on Hunter Biden's laptop for over a year at this point. for a year at this point. They've apparently had a money laundering investigation. That was the pretext for the grand jury impanelment, which allowed them to then subpoena the laptop. They had already been looking into money laundering claims. But then the interesting thing is that they sent a FBI agent to collect it, and that FBI agent specializes in child abductions and pedophilia cases. So it's really interesting. There's a lot of dynamics here. But yeah, I have no doubt that Joe Biden's going to try and claim that it isn't real, claim that it's Russian disinformation, misinformation. Yeah, there's no conversation. You're right, Judy. Immigration's off. There's no conversation about China. There's nothing on the agenda for foreign policy at all. The only thing is national security. That's the closest we get to foreign policy. They're going to be talking about COVID-19 again. They're going to be talking about American families, probably related to unemployment, I would imagine. It's a rehash. The whole point of these debates is every debate has a different topic. And the reason for that is, the first debate has their topics, different topics in the last debate, and the middle one is a town hall where people get to ask, actual citizens get to ask their own questions. The whole goal is to learn as much as you can about the candidates before you vote. Here, they're rushing people to vote early, get your ballot in as soon as possible, they say. And then they've denied the ability for people to actually talk about important issues. They said, nope, we're just going to do COVID-19 every debate. Listen, I think Trump's right. People are getting COVID fatigue. I know I am. I cannot wait for my son to be born, because then I can go outside and have a life again. And I don't have to be on COVID lockdown to make sure that my wife doesn't get COVID, which I completely understand. I don't want her to have to go through giving birth while also COVID positive. It's a whole another headache that adds to it. But I'd like to be able to go to eat outside at a restaurant. I haven't been outside in 8 months. Well, I have go to stores, but I haven't actually done anything. Starting to get cabin fever. But yeah, people are getting COVID fatigue, and the fact that they're still pushing this down our throats, it's getting old. And I'm not trying to diminish the 200,000 people who have died, and that death has been attributed to COVID-19 in one way or another. Not trying to diminish that, but at some point we need to get on with our lives and to stop with the damn ticker on CNN every second of every day showing you how many people have died. It's getting too much. And you know that if Biden wins, that ticker goes away on day one. You know that if Joe Biden wins, the COVID-19 ticker on CNN will disappear, because it will no longer serve a political purpose, because no one will want to keep track of how many COVID deaths have been in a Joe Biden presidency. So we're about 16 minutes to go until start time. We're delayed. There's a significant delay. So we're about 4 minutes delayed on YouTube, which is fine. Going to be a couple. My mom's chiming in that I've been to pet stores. Yes, I've been to pet stores. Absolutely right. One of the things I've been doing to keep sane during this whole pandemic is started fish tank. Actually, now I have 3 fish tanks. So 2 saltwater tanks and 1 freshwater tank. So I go to fish stores, pet stores. You're right, Mom. And my mom is in the chat. Now I get to know that my mom is going to watch me eat very spicy wings. So again, I don't think we're missing anything with these people talking. Interestingly, I don't see a lot of social distancing in the audience. Mr. Producer, can you rewind that just a little bit? Can you rewind that like 10 seconds? Right there. A little bit more. Yeah. See that back row? See how they're shoulder to shoulder? What the hell? Incredible. No social distancing. Social distancing in the top rows where they expect the camera to see them. But in the expensive seats, I just saw people shoulder to shoulder. Let's make sure we're live. Go live, Mr. Producer, on the we're live? Okay, good. Oh, there we go. There we go. Now we're cooking with gasoline. So again, I'll tell for everyone who's just coming in, hot wings challenge. Anyone who doesn't know, my wife is going to give birth any day now, and I can't get super drunk like we usually do on these things. So to make sure that I can still collect some worthless internet points, we have decided to do hot wings, which are right here. Just so you know, they're real. Yeah, very spicy. And Mr. Producer, go ahead real quick and throw up the graphic. There we go. Those are the hot wings we're going to be using, starting with 1200 Scoville at 9 o'clock, and then every 10 minutes have a new one, ending with the last dab, 2 million Scoville at 10:20. So make sure you stick around. It's going to be Interesting. It's going to get really hard at 9:50. That's when it's going to start. You're going to start feeling it. Carl says, "Good luck, Max. Thank you. I need it." And Joe's supposed to be chiming in. He deliberately left his hot sauce in Colorado. He's in Vegas, so we're going to give him crap for that. Oh, we're live. Okay. He deliberately left his hot sauce in Vegas, so I don't know how I feel about that. But he should be on any minute now. He's just running a little late, and when he gets on, we'll make sure we include him. So let me know in the comment section what you're having for dinner. I'm having liquid death. Let me know what you're drinking. Let me know what you want Trump to do tonight. Do you want him to let Joe Biden talk and dig his own grave? Do you want Trump to be on offense? Do you want a combination of the two? Let me know what you want Trump to do. Because I've talked to a lot of people about this, and a lot of people are giving me different things. Some people want this, some people want that. Some people want Trump to be quiet. Some people want him to go full attack mode. I don't know if there's a real answer. Jerry says, "Max, get busy living or get busy dying." Yeah. I don't know if there's a real answer and what Trump should do, because I think no matter what he does, there's going to be someone who says he did the wrong thing. So I don't know. I don't know what he's going to do. Everyone's always a critic. And did you see this? There was let me find this op-ed today. There's an op-ed. I want to make sure I get.
I would just say I have a suspicion that the mute button might get a little heavy on Donald Trump's side and a little light on Joe Biden's side, which is why I take real issue with the whole mute button thing. So that's something we really need to pay attention to, because I feel it's going to happen.
Yes. I think he's definitely going to get... the mute button's automatically going to happen. I don't think the moderator has control of the mute button. I think it's just going to come down from the booth. But yes, I think that Donald Trump runs the biggest risk of being silenced. I think it would be fantastic if he showed up with a megaphone. I think it'd be fantastic if he showed up with a sign that just said, "Where's Hunter?" whenever his mic is turned off. I think that'd be fantastic. But I think he's probably going to sit back and take it and then unleash fire and fury once his 2 minutes begin. So there was an op-ed. I can't find it now. It was all the rage on Twitter. A Christian pastor basically saying you can't vote for Donald Trump because he's arrogant. And it was this crazy thing where he's equating the sin of arrogance with the sin of abortion, and somehow saying that being against abortion is not a good enough reason to vote for someone who's arrogant. It was just like the strangest thing. Anyone who knows what I'm talking about knows the guy's name. I don't follow him. Apparently he has a lot of people who follow him. Leave a comment in the comment section if you know what I'm talking about. I read it, and it just made me scratch my head and try and figure out how you make that argument that Donald Trump is vain. Donald Trump has committed adultery in the past, right? All sins. I don't doubt it. But saying that is worse than the active advocacy of third trimester abortion, or any abortion for that matter, I don't see it. I don't see how that's even possible. I don't see how you, with a straight face, you can say that I'm not voting for Donald Trump. I'm a Christian. I'm not voting for Donald Trump because he cheated on his wife decades ago, but I will vote for Joe Biden even though he supports abortion. It just doesn't make sense. John Piper. You're right. Thank you, Lori. His name's John Piper. I don't think he's a Catholic. He's John Stephen Piper. He teaches at the Fuller Theological Seminary. Bethlehem College and Seminary in Minneapolis, Minnesota. So very, very strange. I don't get it. The whole never Trumpism, I've never really been a fan. I've thought that they need to be purged from the party. When Donald Trump wins, we have to purge him from the party. I mean, I don't think anyone really says that we miss these never Trumpers. I don't think we miss the Weekly Standard, do we? It's so strange. Like, oh yeah, we're going to vote for Joe Biden. We're going to vote for a man who clearly has Alzheimer's or dementia because Donald Trump is mean. It's just because I don't like Donald Trump's tweets. I don't buy it. I don't buy it one bit. There's Melania Trump walking in. T-minus 8 minutes to go. Looks like we are 3 minutes behind live, so that's a delay that C-SPAN is working into their YouTube stream. Nothing you can do, Mr. Producer Josh. Just that's the delay that C-SPAN is running on their YouTube feed.
Max,
so that's fine.
If I could,
Yeah.
I did find a really cool T-shirt online. If I could just show the picture to the crowd real quick.
Sure.
It's this, and I want to know where Hunter is too. You know.
Yeah. That's not our T-shirt, is it? No.
It is
that's
not. I
our
found it
T-shirt.
online because who wouldn't want a cool T-shirt like that? But we should have one made.
But
I think I'll get our people on it.
Yeah, we do have T-shirts for sale if you want to help support the channel. Conservative-daily.com. Go there, and you will see a little button for shop at the top menu bar. Go to the shop, and you'll be able to help support the channel if you like any of the T-shirts. Or don't. Sherry says, no Joe tonight. Joe is supposed to be here. He deliberately left the hot sauce behind in Denver when he went to Las Vegas so he could avoid taking the last dab. So we're going to give him crap for it. He's supposed to be here any minute. He just said he's running a little late. Apparently, he had a hole-in-one, so there's like a whole thing. I don't know if he had a hole-in-one or someone in his party had a hole-in-one. There's a whole thing going down in Las Vegas where they're celebrating.
Joe did actually golf a hole-in-one today, and then met Jerome Bettis afterwards. So he is on.
So he's late.
9.
Joe is late because he met one of his idols, Jerome Bettis, running back for the Pittsburgh Steelers, former running back for Pittsburgh Steelers, and apparently he got a hole-in-one at Shadow Creek, which is an amazing golf course in Las Vegas, and he hit it from the same tees as they set up for the pros, so he's going to be over the moon excited, which is fine. He'll be here in a couple minutes, but he won't be eating hot wings because he wussed out and deliberately left it behind. So what else do we have to talk about? I guess I can rehash it. Bubelinsky is going to be there. Tony Bubelinsky is going to be there. Hunter Biden's former business associate who has now turned on him and confirmed that Joe Biden is not only the big guy, but also I think he also said that he's the chancellor? Not the chancellor. It might be the chancellor. He's confirmed that the coded language that Hunter Biden used in the emails to talk about the big guy or this other guy pulling the strings refers to Joe Biden. So I have no intention of listening to Kristen Welker. She is as anti-Trump as it gets. Lots of footage from her over the years talking about supporting Hillary Clinton, coaching Hillary Clinton's people when she thought the cameras were off. I don't trust her one bit. And this is something I was talking to my dad about this the other day. I can't think of a single person who's done a presidential debate and it's helped their career. Think about it. Can you think of anyone who has done the job of moderating a debate and has come out better for it? I can't. I mean, look at Candy Crowley. Where's she? Remember Candy Crowley with Mitt Romney and interrupting him? I can't think of anyone who has come out in a better career position having moderated a presidential debate. So I don't know why people do it. I guess they think that they can influence politics because it's certainly not to make a career advancement. So that always confuses me why anyone would want to do this. And I understand it's a hard job pleasing both sides. Personally, I think that they should have Rachel Maddow and Tucker Carlson co-moderate a debate. At least be honest with it.
Joe
at least be honest.
Arrived, Max, so I will be connecting him shortly here.
All right, connect him. Make sure that he's all settled. Joe is going to be on in a second. So I think we should at least stop pretending that these are. I guess he's setting them up. We should stop pretending that these are middle of the road people. They're not. Chris Wallace is not middle of the road. This woman is not middle of the road. So let's stop pretending. Let's just make it a bloodbath. Oh, here's Joe from his hotel room in Vegas. Mr. Hole in One.
I got a hole in one. Hold on. I'm trying to find you. I don't actually
I can hear you.
Can you see me?
Yes.
I can't see you.
I feel like I'm setting up my grandmother's FaceTime.
Hey guys, listen, look at that. That's outside.
Yeah.
I got my first ever hole in one. My first ever.
That's exciting.
Yeah.
And so just for everyone, we're going to promise that there are no crack pipes in your hotel room. You're not going to pass out with a crack pipe or a meth pipe hanging out of your mouth.
I don't know
that, right?
I do none of
You're
those
looking.
things.
You just look to your left as if there's a crack pipe off camera.
No, I did not look to my left. I have.
I just said there's no crack pipes, and you went.
Right.
No, there's no crack pipes.
No, there's no crack pipes. Hey. All right, so that's Evan. You can see him back there. He can say hi. He witnessed my hole in one. So
before we get started with this, we got to call you out, Joe, because I was on the phone with you last night. I was on the phone with you, and you were holding the hot sauce in your hand. And you said, I'm going to have to bring this with me? I said, yes. And you said, I have to bring this on the plane? I said, yes, you have to put this in your check bag. And you said, I'm flying private, so it doesn't matter. I said, okay. You looked at it, we talked about it, and you left it on your desk.
I did.
That was not an accident.
About that? I didn't tell Josh. I didn't tell him. Josh, you told on me. Josh, get on here.
Yeah, he did. He did.
Josh, told on me. Josh?
He's coming. He's just trying to figure out how to put his video in between us.
I'm trying to get myself on camera here, but I'm holding your bottle of hot sauce here, and I'm going to have to take it for you.
I appreciate that.
So I think what's going to happen, is when you get back, you're going to have to do the wing. I don't think we can let this stand.
I can do that.
I don't think we can let it stand. And just so you know, there's no wussing out here.
I didn't tell Josh. I
don't think we can let this stand.
Wait, hold on. Oh, I can do that.
Echo.
I fix it.
Okay. All right, ask Evan to take that call outside the hotel room.
Hey, did you see this, Josh? Snitches get stitches. Hey, Evan, you got to go outside. Hey, guys, I'm really
there's
sorry.
Josh. There's first time premiere Josh's face holding up the last dab. Yeah, what's wrong with this picture? Only 2 of us have the bottle. Yeah.
I don't even have any gear, so I feel really bad right now. But I just got off the golf course. Again, it's by the way, I just want to say this, Josh. KT says, "Snitches get stitches."
Yeah.
Yeah, Josh. Snitches get stitches.
Well, you know where I work, so.
Yeah. Okay. Is that a double king behind you? It's huge. Yeah, there's 2 beds there because we won't sleep in the same bed. But because it's a charity tournament, just so you know, we don't. They did offer us a couple of separate rooms, but to maximize what we could do to help the charity, we said we just take one room.
I think we're starting, Mr. Producer. Mr. Producer, make sure the volume's turned up. Make sure the volume of the video is turned up, Mr. Producer. I think we're starting right now.
We are ready.
It's on. I guess there's nothing to hear. And Joe, if you have headphones, probably be better if you put them in.
I'm telling them to be quiet. I'm muting.
No. Just for you to be able to hear, so we don't have any echo. Wait, we're starting any minute. And Miss Producer, go ahead and put the image up of the first hot wing I'm eating tonight. Number 1. The first wing I'm going to be eating tonight is Tabasco's Chipotle flavor. So not very hot. 1,200 Scoville Heat Units. That's going to kick off as soon as the debate starts. I think technically we're 4 minutes over because C-SPAN's delayed. So we're just going to have to keep track of when I start each one. It should be starting any minute now. We'll wait and see the teleprompter when that starts. Here, teleprompter's coming out. Got the audio?
Good evening from Belmont University in Nashville, Tennessee. I'm Kristen Welker of NBC News, and I welcome you to the final 2020 presidential debate between President Donald J. Trump and former Vice President Joe Biden. Tonight's debate is sponsored by the Commission on Presidential Debates. It is conducted under health and safety protocols designed by the Commission's health security advisor. The audience here in the hall has promised to remain silent. No cheers, boos, or other interruptions, except right now, as we welcome to the stage former Vice President Joe Biden and President Donald J. Trump.
All right, so the first wing's down. Tabasco Chipotle going at 9:05, 9:05.
Let's go.
It's going to get dangerous.
And then we'll sit back on the other side, Joe Biden.
And I do want to say a very good evening to both of you. This debate will cover 6 major topics. At the beginning of each section, each candidate will have 2 minutes uninterrupted to answer my first question. The debate commission will then turn on their microphone only when it is their turn to answer, and the commission will turn it off exactly when the 2 minutes have expired. After that, both microphones will remain on. But on behalf of the voters, I'm going to ask you to please speak one at a time. The goal is for you to hear each other and for the American people to hear every word of what you both have to say. And so with that, if you're ready, let's start. And we will begin with the fight against the coronavirus. President Trump, the first question is for you. The country is heading into a dangerous new phase. More than 40,000 Americans are in the hospital tonight with COVID, including record numbers here in Tennessee. And since the two of you last shared a stage, 16,000 Americans have died from COVID. So please be specific. How would you lead the country during this next stage of the coronavirus crisis? 2 minutes.
So, as you know, 2.2 million people modeled out were expected to die. We closed up the greatest economy in the world in order to fight this horrible disease that came from China. It's a worldwide pandemic. It's all over the world. You see the spikes in Europe and many other places right now. If you notice, the mortality rate is down 85%. The excess mortality rate is way down and much lower than almost any other country. And we're fighting it, and we're fighting it hard. There is a spike. There was a spike in Florida, and it's now gone. There was a very big spike in Texas. It's now gone. There was a very big spike in Arizona. It's now gone. And there are some spikes and surges in other places. They will soon be gone. We have a vaccine that's coming. It's ready. It's going to be announced within weeks, and it's going to be delivered. We have Operation Warp Speed, which is the military is going to distribute the vaccine. I can tell you from personal experience that I was in the hospital. I had it, and I got better. And I will tell you that I had something that they gave me, a therapeutic, I guess they would call it. Some people could say it was a cure. But I was in for a short period of time, and I got better very fast, or I wouldn't be here tonight. And now they say I'm immune. Whether it's 4 months or a lifetime, nobody's been able to say that, but I'm immune. More and more people are getting better. We have a problem that's a worldwide problem. This is a worldwide problem. But I've been congratulated by the heads of many countries on what we've been able to do. If you take a look at what we've done in terms of goggles and masks and gowns and everything else, and in particular ventilators, we're now making ventilators all over the world, thousands and thousands a month, distributing them all over the world. It will go away, and as I say, we're rounding the turn, we're rounding the corner. It's going away.
Okay, former Vice President Biden, to you, how would you lead the country out of this crisis? You have 2 minutes uninterrupted.
220,000 Americans dead. If you hear nothing else I say tonight, hear this. Anyone who's responsible for not taking control, in fact, not saying I take no responsibility initially. Anyone who's responsible for that many deaths should not remain as President of the United States of America. We're in a situation where there are 1,000 deaths a day now, 1,000 deaths a day. And there are over 70,000 new cases per day. Compared to what's going on in Europe, as the New England Medical Journal said, they're starting from a very low rate. We're starting from a very high rate. The expectation is we'll have another 200,000 Americans dead between now and the end of the year. If we just wore these masks, the President's own advisors have told him, we could save 100,000 lives. And we're in a circumstance where the President thus far and still has no plan, no comprehensive plan. It's not true. What I would do is make sure we have everyone encouraged to wear a mask all the time. I would make sure we move in the direction of rapid testing, investing in rapid testing. I would make sure that we set up national standards as to how to open up schools and open up businesses so they can be safe and give them the wherewithal, the financial resources to be able to do that. We're in a situation now where the New England Medical Journal, one of the most serious journals in the whole world, said for the first time ever that the way this president has responded to this crisis has been absolutely tragic. And so, folks, I will take care of this. I will end this. I will make sure we have a plan.
President Trump, I'd like to follow up with you in your comments. You talked about taking a therapeutic. I assume you're referencing Regeneron. You also said a vaccine will be coming within weeks.
Yes.
Is that a guarantee?
No, it's not a guarantee, but it will be by the end of the year. But I think it has a good chance. There are two companies, I think, within a matter of weeks. and it will be distributed very quickly.
Can you tell us which companies?
Johnson & Johnson is doing very well. Moderna is doing very well. Pfizer is doing very well. And we have numerous others. Then we also have others that we're working on very closely with other countries, in particular Europe.
Let me follow up with you, and because this is new information, you have said a vaccine is coming soon, within weeks now. Your own officials say it could take well into 2021 at the earliest for enough Americans to get vaccinated. And even then, they say the country will be wearing masks and distancing into 2022. Is your timeline realistic?
No, I think my timeline is going to be more accurate. I don't know that they're counting on the military the way I do, but we have our generals lined up, one in particular, that's the head of logistics, and this is a very easy distribution for him. He's ready to go as soon as we have the vaccine, and we expect to have 100 million vials. As soon as we have the vaccine, he's ready to go.
Vice President Biden, your reaction, and just 40% of Americans say they would definitely agree to take a coronavirus vaccine if it was approved by the government. What steps would you take to give Americans confidence in a vaccine if it were approved?
Make sure it's totally transparent. Have the scientists of the world see it, know it, look at it, go through all the processes. And by the way, this is the same fellow who told you this is going to end by Easter last time. This is the same fellow who told you that, don't worry, we're going to end this by the summer. We're about to go into a dark winter, and he has no clear plan, and there's no prospect that there's going to be a vaccine available for the majority of the American people before the middle of next year.
President Trump, your reaction, he says you have no plan.
I don't think we're going to have a dark winter at all. We're opening up our country. We've learned and studied and understand the disease, which we didn't at the beginning. When I closed and banned China from coming in heavily infected, and then ultimately Europe, but China was in January. Months later, he was saying I was xenophobic. I did it too soon. Now he's saying, oh, I should have, moved quicker. But he didn't move quicker. He was months behind me, many months behind me. And frankly, he ran the H1N1 swine flu, and it was a total disaster, far less lethal, but it was a total disaster. Had that had this kind of numbers, 700,000 people would be dead right now, but it was a far less lethal disease. Look, his own person who ran that for him, who, as you know, was his chief of staff, said it was catastrophic, it was horrible, we didn't know what we were doing. Now he comes up and he tells us how to do this. Also, everything that he said about the way every single move that he said we should make, that's what we've done. We've done all of it. But he was way behind us.
Vice President Biden, your response.
My response is he is xenophobic, but not because he shut down access from China. And he did it late after 40 countries had already done that. In addition to that, what he did, he made sure that we had 44 people that were in there in China trying to get to Wuhan to determine what exactly the source was. What did the president say in January? He said, no, he said, he's being transparent. The president of China is being transparent. We owe him a debt of gratitude. We have to thank him. And then what happened was we started talking about using the Defense Act to make sure we go out and get whatever is needed out there to protect people. And again, I go back to this. He had nothing. He did virtually nothing. And then he gets out of the hospital and he talks about, don't worry, it's all going to be over soon. Come on. There's not another serious scientist in the world who thinks it's going to be over soon.
President Trump, your reaction?
I say over soon. I say we're learning to live with it. We have no choice. We can't lock ourselves up in a basement like Joe does. He has the ability to lock himself up. I don't know. He's obviously made a lot of money someplace, but he has this thing about living in a basement. People can't do that. By the way, I, as the president, couldn't do that. I'd love to put myself in the basement or in a beautiful room in the White House and go away for a year and a half until it disappears. I can't do that. And Kirsten, every meeting I had, and I'd meet a lot of families, including Gold Star families and military families, every meeting I had, and I had to meet them. I had to. It would be horrible to have canceled everything. I said, this is dangerous. And you catch it. And, I caught it. I learned a lot. Great doctors, great hospitals. And now I recovered. 99.9% of young people recover. 99% of people recover. We have to recover. We can't close up our nation. We have to open our school, and we can't close up our nation, or you're not going to have a nation.
And of course, the CDC has said young people can get sick with COVID-19 and can pass it. Vice President Biden, I want to talk broadly about strategy. though. You have
Can I respond to that?
30 seconds, please, and then I have a question.
No, number one, he says that we're learning to live with it. People are learning to die with it. You folks home will have an empty chair at the kitchen table this morning. That man or wife going
I'm gonna have an empty chair.
Reaching over to try to touch their, out of habit, where their wife or husband was.
Touch their children.
Gone. Learning to live with
Hunter?
it. Come on, we're dying with it because he's never said. You said it's dangerous. When's the last time? Is it really dangerous still? Are we dangerous? You tell the people it's dangerous now. What should they do about the danger? And you say,
what is he
take
talking
no
about?
Responsibility.
Let me talk about your two.
Excuse me, I take full responsibility. It's not my fault that it came here. It's China's fault. And you know what? It's not Joe's fault that it came here either. It's China's fault. They kept it from going into the rest of China for the most part, but they didn't keep it from coming out to the world, including Europe and ourselves.
Vice President Biden.
The fact is that
why does he get a rebuttal?
When it hit, what happened? What did the president say? He said, "Don't worry, it's going to go away. Be gone by Easter. Don't worry, the warm weather. Don't worry. Maybe inject bleach." He said he was kidding when he said that, but a lot of people thought it was serious.
He never.
A whole range of things the president
No one thought
said.
it was serious.
Even today, he thinks we are in control. We're about to lose 200,000 more people.
President Trump.
Look, perhaps just to finish this, I was kidding on that, but just to finish this, when I closed, he said I shouldn't have closed. And that went on for months. Nancy Pelosi said the same thing. She was dancing on the streets in Chinatown in San Francisco. But when I closed, he said, "This is a terrible thing. You're xenophobic." I think he called me racist even. And because I was closing it to China. Now he says I should have closed it earlier. It just, Joe, it doesn't work.
I didn't say either of those things.
You certainly did.
That's not true. That's a lie.
I talked about his xenophobia in a different context. It wasn't about closing the border to Chinese coming to the United States.
All right, I want to talk about both of your different strategies to handling
He thought
this.
I shouldn't have closed the border.
Well,
that's obvious.
Do you want to respond to that quickly, Vice President Biden?
Well, he just gets.
Let's talk about
he just gives him the final word on everything.
strategies toward dealing with this. Mr. Vice President, you suggested you would support new shutdowns if scientists recommended it. What do you say to Americans who are fearful that the cost of shutdowns, the impact on the economy, the higher rates of hunger, depression, domestic and substance abuse outweighs the risk of exposure to the virus?
Hit the share button, everyone.
I'm going to shut down the virus, not the country. It's his ineptitude that caused the country to have to shut down in large part. Why businesses have gone under, why schools are closed, why so many people have lost their living, and why they're concerned. Those other concerns are real. That's why he should have been, instead of in a sand trap in a golf course, he should have been negotiating with Nancy Pelosi and the rest of the Democrats and Republicans about what to do about the acts they were passing.
You just say, I don't go in the sand trap.
To make sure people had the capacity.
But you haven't ruled out more shutdowns.
Well, no, I'm not shutting down the nation, but there are, look, you need standards. The standard is if you have a reproduction rate in a community that's above a certain level, everybody says, slow up, more social distancing, do not open bars and do not open gymnasiums, do not open until you get this under control, under more control. But when you do open,
I haven't heard the word
give
gymnasium
people the capacity to be able to open and have the capacity to do it safely. For example, schools. Schools, they need a lot of money to open. They need to deal with ventilation systems. They need to deal with smaller classes, more teachers, more pods. And he's refused to support that money, or at least up to now.
Let's talk about schools. President Trump,
I think we have to respond, if I might.
Please, and then I have a follow-up.
Thank you, and I appreciate that. Look, all he does is talk about shutdowns, but forget about him. His Democrat governors, Cuomo in New York, you look at what's going on in California, you look at Pennsylvania, North Carolina, Democrats all, they're shut down so tight and they're dying. They're dying. And he supports all these people. All he talks about is shutdowns. No, we're not going to shut down, and we have to open our schools. And it's like, as an example, I have a young son. He also tested positive.
5 more minutes.
By the time I spoke to the doctor the second time, he was fine. It just went away. Young people, I guess it's their immune system.
Let me follow up with you, President Trump. You've demanded schools open in person and insist they can do it safely. But just yesterday, Boston became the latest city to move its public school system entirely online after a coronavirus spike. What is your message to parents who worry that sending their children to school will endanger not only their kids, but also their teachers and families?
I want to open the schools. The transmittal rate to the teachers is very small, but I want to open the schools. We have to open our country. We're not going to have a country. You can't do this. We can't keep this country closed. This is a massive country with a massive economy. People are losing their jobs. They're committing suicide. There's depression, alcohol, drugs at a level that nobody's ever seen before. There's abuse, tremendous abuse. We have to open our country. You know, I've said it often. The cure cannot be worse than the problem itself. And that's what's happening. And he wants to close down. He'll close down the country if one person in our massive bureaucracy says we should close it down.
Vice President Biden, your response.
Simply not true. We ought to be able to walk and chew gum at the same time. We ought to be able to safely open, but when they need resources to open. You need to be able to, for example, if you're going to open a business, have social distancing within the business. You need to have, if you have a restaurant, you need to have plexiglass dividers so people cannot infect one another. You need to be in a position where you can take testing rapidly and know whether a person is in fact infected. You need to be able to trace. You need to be able to provide all the resources that are needed to do this. And that is not inconsistent with saying that what we're going to make sure that we can open safely. And by the way, all you teachers out there, not that many of you are going to die, so don't worry about it. So don't worry about it. Come on.
President Trump, let me follow up with you quickly.
By the way, I will say this. If you go and look at what's happened to New York, it's a ghost town. It's a ghost town. And when you talk about plexiglass, these are restaurants that are dying. These are businesses with no money. Putting up plexiglass is unbelievably expensive, and it's not the answer. I mean, you're going to sit there in a cubicle wrapped around with plastic. These are businesses that are dying, Joe. You can't do that to people. You just can't. Take a look at New York and what's happened to my wonderful city for so many years. I loved it. It was vibrant. It's dying. Everyone's leaving New York.
Take a look at what New York has done in terms of turning the curve down in terms of the number of people dying. And I don't look at this in terms of the way he does. Blue states and red states. They're all the United States. And look at the states that are having such a spike in the coronavirus. They're the red states. They're the states in the Midwest. They're the states in the upper Midwest. That's where the spike is occurring significantly. But they're all Americans. They're all Americans. And what we have to do is say, wear these masks, number one. Make sure we get the help that the businesses need that has money's already been passed to do that. It's been out there since the beginning of the summer, and nothing's happened.
President, New York has lost more than 40,000 people, 11,000 people in nursing homes.
President Trump, what
when you say spike, take a look at what's happening in Pennsylvania, where they've had it closed. Take a look at what's happening with your friend in Michigan, where her husband's the only one allowed to do anything. It's been like a prison. Now it was just ruled unconstitutional. Take a look at North Carolina. They're having spikes, and they've been closed. And they're getting killed financially. We can't let that happen, Joe. You can't let that happen. We have to open up.
That wing was a little spicy.
And we understand the disease. We have to protect our seniors. We have to protect our elderly. We have to protect especially our seniors with heart problems and diabetes problems. And we will protect them. We have the best testing in the world by far. That's why we have so many cases.
Let me follow up with you before we move on to our next section. President Trump, this week you called Dr. Anthony Fauci, the nation's best-known infectious disease expert, quote, a disaster. You described him and other medical experts as, quote, idiots. If you're not listening to them, who are you listening to as you fight this?
I'm listening to all of them, including Anthony. I get along very well with Anthony. But
hey, Max, your face is turning red.
Don't
wings are affecting you already.
He did say, as you know,
I just ate one that had green sauce, so I don't know why my face is turning red.
I think he's a Democrat, but that's okay. He said this is not going to be a problem. We are not going to have a problem at all. When Joe says that, I said, Anthony Fauci said, and others, and many others, and I'm not knocking him a lot. Nobody knew. Look, nobody knew what this thing was. Nobody knew where it was coming from, what it was. We've learned a lot. But Anthony said, don't wear masks. Now he wants to wear masks. Anthony also said, if you look back, exact words, here's his exact words. This is no problem. This is going to go away soon. So he's allowed to make mistakes. He happens to be a good person.
Vice President Biden, your response quickly, and then we're going to move on to the next section.
My response is that think about what the president knew in January and didn't tell the American people. He was told this was a serious virus that spread in the air, and it was much worse than the flu. He went on record and said to one of your colleagues, recorded, that in fact he knew how dangerous it was, but he didn't want to tell us.
Why does Biden get the last word every time?
He didn't want to tell us because he didn't want us to panic. He didn't want us. Americans don't panic. He panicked. But guess what? In the meantime, we find out in the New York Times the other day that, in fact, his folks went to Wall Street and said this is a really dangerous thing. And a memo out of that meeting, not from his administration, but from some of the brokers, said, sell short because we got to get moving. It's a dangerous problem.
Well, this is
I'm going to give you 30 seconds to respond, and then we're going to move
Street
on.
One, I don't know. Somebody went to Wall Street. You're the one that takes all the money from Wall Street. I don't take it. You have raised a lot of money, tremendous amounts of money. And every time you raise money, deals are made, Joe. I could raise so much more money. As president and as somebody that knows most of those people, I could call the heads of Wall Street, the heads of every company in America. I would blow away every record, but I don't want to do that because it puts me in a bad position. And then you bring up Wall Street. You shouldn't be bringing up Wall Street because you're the one that takes the money from Wall Street, not me. I could blow away your records that, like you wouldn't believe. We don't need money. We have plenty of money. In fact,
why are they
Hillary
muting?
Clinton with a tiny fraction of the money that she was able.
All right, gentlemen, we're going to move on.
Don't tell me about Wall Street.
Average contribution, $43.
All right, we're going to move on to our next section, which is national security. And I do want to start with the security of our elections and some breaking news from overnight. Just last night, top intelligence officials confirmed again that both Russia and Iran are working to influence this election. Both countries have obtained U.S. voter registration information, these officials say, and Iran sent intimidating messages to Florida voters. This question goes to you, Mr. Vice President. What would you do to put an end to this threat? You have 2 minutes uninterrupted.
Wag his
finger. I
made
made it clear, and I ask everyone else to take the pledge. I made it clear that any country, no matter who it is, that interferes in American elections will pay a price. They will pay a price. And it's been overwhelmingly clear this election, I won't even get into the last one, this election, that Russia has been involved, China has been involved to some degree, and now we learn that Iran is involved. They will pay a price if I'm elected. They're interfering with American sovereignty. That's what's going on right now. They're interfering with American sovereignty. And to the best of my knowledge, I don't think the president said anything to Putin about it. I don't think he's stalking them a lot. I don't think he said a word. I don't know why he hadn't said a word to Putin about it. And I don't know what he has recently said, if anything, to the Iranians. My guess is he'd probably be more outspoken with regard to the Iranians. But the point is this, folks. We are in a situation where we have foreign countries trying to interfere in the outcome of our election. His own national security advisor told him that what is happening with his buddy, I will. His buddy, Rudy Giuliani, he's being used as a Russian pawn. He's being fed information that is Russian, that is not true. And then what happens? Nothing happens. And then you find out that everything that's going on here about Russia is wanting to make sure that I do not get elected the next president of the United States because they know I know them and they know me. I don't understand why this president is unwilling to take on Putin when he's actually paying bounties to kill American soldiers in Afghanistan, when he's engaged in activities that are trying to destabilize all of NATO. I don't know why he doesn't do it, but it's worth asking the question, why isn't that being done? Any country that interferes with us will, in fact, pay a price because they're affecting our sovereignty.
President Trump, same question to you. Let me ask the question. You're going to have 2 minutes to respond. For 2 elections in a row now, there has been substantial interference from foreign adversaries. What would you do in your next term to put an end to this? 2 minutes uninterrupted.
Well, let me respond to the first part, as Joe answered. Joe got $3.5 million from Russia, and it came through Putin because he was very friendly with the former mayor of Moscow, and it was the mayor of Moscow's wife. And you got $3.5 million. Your family got $3.5 million, and you know, someday you're going to have to explain, why did you get 3.5? I never got any money from Russia. I don't get money from Russia. Now, about your thing last night, I knew all about that. And through John Ratcliffe, who is fantastic, DNI, he said, the one thing that's common to both of them, they both want you to lose. Because there has been nobody tougher to Russia. Between the sanctions, nobody tougher than me on Russia. Between the sanctions, between all of what I've done with NATO, you know, I've got the NATO countries to put up an extra $130 billion, going to $420 billion a year. That's to guard against Russia. I sold, while he was selling pillows and sheets, I sold tank busters to Ukraine. There has been nobody tougher on Russia than Donald Trump. And I'll tell you, they were so bad. They took over the submarine port. You remember that very well. During your term, during you and Barack Obama, they took over a big part of what should have been Ukraine. You handed it to them, but you were getting a lot of money from Russia. They were paying you a lot of money, and they probably still are. But now, with what came out today, it's even worse. All of the emails, the horrible emails of the kind of money that you were raking in, you and your family. And Joe, you were vice president when some of this was happening, and it should have never happened. And I think you owe an explanation to the American people. Why is it? Somebody just had a news conference a little while ago who was essentially supposed to work with you and your family, but what he said was damning. And regardless of me, I think you have to clean it up and talk to the American people. Maybe you can do it right now.
Vice President Biden, you may respond. 30 seconds. And then I do want to follow up on the election security.
I have not taken a penny from any foreign source ever in my life. We learned that this president paid 50 times the tax in China, has a secret bank account with China, does business in China, and in fact is talking about me taking money. I have not taken a single penny from any country whatsoever, ever. Number one. Number two, this is a president, I have released all of my tax returns, 22 years. Go look at them. 22 years of my tax return. You have not released a single solitary
Hunter was hiding
of your tax return. What are you hiding? Why are you unwilling? The foreign countries are paying you a lot. Russia's paying you a lot. China's paying you a lot. And your hotels and all your businesses all around the country, all around the world. And China's building a new road to a new a golf course you have overseas. So what's going on here?
China's building a road.
Tax return or stop talking about corruption.
President Trump, your response.
First of all, I called my accountants under audit. I'm going to release them as soon as we can. I want to do it, and it'll show how successful, how great this company is. But much more importantly than that, people were saying $750. I asked them a week ago, I said, what did I pay? They said, sir, you prepaid tens of millions of dollars. I prepaid my tax. Tens over the last number of years. Tens of millions of dollars I prepaid because at some point they think it's an estimate. They think I may have to pay tax. So I already prepaid it. Nobody told me that.
Did your accountant
Nobody
tell
told you that.
Excuse
me. And it wasn't written whenever they write this. They keep talking about $750, which I think is a filing fee. But let me just tell you, I prepaid millions and millions of dollars in taxes. Number one. Number two, I don't make money from China. You do. I don't make money from Ukraine. You do. I don't make money from Russia. You made $3.5 million, Joe, and your son gave you. They even have a statement that we have to give 10% to the big man. You're the big man, I think. I don't know. Maybe you're not, but you're the big man, I think. Your son said we have to give 10% to the big man. Joe, what's that all about? It's terrible.
All right, gentlemen, I want to ask you both some questions about all of this.
No,
I'm going to let you both respond very quickly.
Answer
You just said you spoke to your accountant about potentially releasing your taxes. Did he tell you when you can release them? Do you have a deadline for when you're going to release them to the American people?
I get treated worse than the Tea Party got treated. Because I have a lot of people in there, deep down in the IRS, they treat me horribly. We made a deal, it was all settled until I decide to run for president. I get treated very badly by the IRS, very unfairly. But we had a deal all done. As soon as we're completed with the deal, I want to release it. But I have paid millions and millions of dollars, and it's worse than paying. I paid in advance. It's called prepaying your taxes. Okay. I paid in advance.
I want to ask you both about questions regarding your potential foreign entanglements and questions that have been raised to give you both a chance to talk about this more broadly. Respond very quickly, and then I'll get to my question.
He's been saying this for 4 years. Show us.
Because he's still under audit.
Show us. Stop playing around. You've been saying for 4 years you're going to release your taxes. Nobody knows it, Mr. President. What they do know is you're not paying your taxes, or you're paying taxes that are so low. When last time he said what he paid, he said, I only pay that little because I'm smart. I know how to game the system. Come on. Come on, folks.
Very quickly, President Trump, and then I want to get to two questions to both of you on this.
I was put through a phony witch hunt for 3 years. It started before I even got elected. They spied on my campaign. No president should ever have to go through what I went through. Let me just say this. Mueller and 18 angry Democrats and FBI agents all over the place spent $48 million. They went through everything I had, including my tax returns, and they found absolutely no collusion and nothing wrong. 48 million. I guarantee you, if I spent 1 million on you, Joe, I could find plenty wrong. Because the kind of things that you've done and the kind of monies that your family has taken, I mean, your brother made money in Iraq. Millions of dollars. Your other brother made a fortune, and it's all through you, Joe. And they say you get some of it, and you do live very well. You have houses all over the place. You live very well.
All right, gentlemen, let me just ask some questions about all of this broadly. Vice President Biden, there have been questions about the work your son has done in China and for a Ukrainian energy company when you were vice president. In retrospect, was anything about those relationships inappropriate or unethical?
Nothing was unethical. Here's what the deal. With regard to Ukraine, we had this whole question about whether or not, because he was on the board, I later learned of a Burisma, a company, that somehow I had done something wrong. Yet every single solitary person, when he was going through his impeachment, testifying under oath who worked for him, said, I did my job impeccably. I carried out U.S. policy. Not one single solitary thing was out of line. Not a single thing, number one. Number two, the guy who got in trouble in Ukraine was this guy trying to bribe the Ukrainian government to say something negative about me, which they would not do and did not do because it never, ever, ever happened. My son has not made money in terms of this thing about, what are you talking about, China. I have not had it. The only guy made money from China is this guy. He's the only one. Nobody else has made money from China.
President Trump, let me ask my question to you.
But could I just one thing?
Very quickly.
His son didn't have a job for a long time, was sadly no longer in the military service. I won't get into that. And he didn't have a job. As soon as he became vice president, Burisma, not the best reputation in the world. I hear they paid him $183,000 a month. Listen to this. $183, and they gave him a $3 million upfront payment.
All right.
And he had no energy.
I'm going to let the Vice President respond to that quickly, and then I need to get to a
dishonest.
question to you. Very quickly.
No basis for that. Everybody investigated that. No one said anything he did was
true.
wrong in Ukraine.
Okay,
That's
President
not true.
Trump, this is for you. Since you took office, you've never divested from your business. You've personally promoted your properties abroad. A report this week, which was referenced, does indicate that your company has a bank account in China. So how can voters know that you don't have any foreign conflicts of interest?
I have many bank accounts, and they're all listed, and they're all over the place. I mean, I was a businessman doing business. The bank account you're referring to, which is everybody knows about it, it's listed. The bank account was in 2013. That's what it was. It was opened it was closed in 2015, I believe. And then I decided, because I was thinking about doing a deal in China like millions of other people. I was thinking about it, and I decided I'm not going to do it. Didn't like it. I decided not to do it. Had an account open, and I closed it.
Okay.
Excuse me. And then, unlike him, where he's vice president and he does business, I then decided to run for president after that. That was before. So I closed it before I even ran for president, let alone became president. Big difference. He is the vice president of the United States, and his son, his brother, and his other brother are getting rich. They're like a vacuum cleaner. They're sucking up money every place he goes.
President Trump, thank you. We do need to move on. I do want to ask you, Vice President Biden, about China. Let's talk about China more broadly. There have, of course, President Trump has said that they should pay for not being fully transparent in regards to the coronavirus. If you were president, would you make China pay? And please be specific. What would that look like?
What I'd make China do is play by the international rules, not like he has done. He has caused the deficit of China to go up, not down, with China, up, not down. We are making sure that in order to do business in China, you have to give all your intellectual property. You have to have a partner in China. It's 51%. We would not do that at all, number one. Number two, we're in a situation where China would have to play by the rules internationally as well. When I met with Xi, when I was still vice president, he said we're setting up air identification zones in the South China Sea. You can't fly through them. I said we're going to fly through them. We just flew B-52, B-1 bombers through it. We're not going to pay attention. They have to play by the rules. And what's he do? He embraces guys like the thugs like in North Korea and and the Chinese president and Putin and others, and he pokes his finger in the eye of all of our friends, all of our allies. We make up we're 25% of the world's economy. We need to be having the rest of our friends with us saying to China, these are the rules. You play by them or you're going to pay the price for not paying by them economically. That's the way I will run it, and that's what we did in upholding steel tariffs and a range of other things when we were president and vice president.
All right, let's talk about North Korea.
Excuse me, no, I have to respond to that.
Okay. Very quickly, and then we're going to move on to North Korea.
with $1.5 billion from China to manage after spending 10 minutes in office and being in Air Force Two, number one. Number two, there's a very strong email talking about your family wanting to make $10 million a year for introductions.
President Trump, on China policy, though, what specifically are you going to do? What specifically are you going to do to make China pay? You've said you're going to make them pay.
China is paying. They're paying billions and billions of dollars. I just gave $28 billion.
New sanctions?
I just gave $28 billion to our farmers.
Taxpayers' money.
That's what?
No. Taxpayers' money. Didn't come from China.
You know who the taxpayer is? It's called China. China paid $28 billion, and you know what they did to pay it, Joe? They devalued their currency, and they also paid up. And you know who got the money? Our farmers, our great farmers, because they were targeted. You never charged them anything. Also, I charged them 25% on dumped steel because they were killing our steel industry. We were not going to have a steel industry.
Okay.
And now we have a steel industry.
Okay, Vice President Biden, your response, please.
Our response is, look, this isn't about, there's a reason why he's bringing up all this malarkey. There's a reason for it.
What?
He doesn't want to talk about the substantive issues. It's not about his family and my family. It's about your family. And your family's hurting badly. If you're making less than, if you're a middle-class family, you're getting hurt badly right now. You're sitting at the kitchen table this morning deciding, well, we can't get new tires, they're bald because we have to wait another month or so. Or are we going to be able to pay the mortgage? Or who's going to tell her she can't go back to community college? They're the decisions you're making in the middle-class families like I grew up in Scranton and Claymont.
You're right, Christy, he's getting flustered.
We should be talking about your families, but that's the last thing he wants to talk about.
I want to talk about North Korea. I do want to turn to 10 seconds, Mr. President.
That's
10 seconds.
A typical political statement. Let's get off this China thing, and then he looks, the family, around the table, everything. Just a typical politician when I see that.
Let's talk about North Korea.
I'm not a typical politician.
Okay,
that's why I got elected. Let's get off the subject of China. Let's talk around sitting around the table.
All right.
Come on, Joe, you can do better.
We're going to talk about North Korea now. President Trump, you've met with North Korean leader Kim Jong-un 3 times. You've talked about your beautiful letters with him. You've touted the fact that there hasn't been a war or a long-range missile test. And yet North Korea recently rolled out its biggest ever intercontinental ballistic missile and continues to develop its nuclear arsenal. Do you see that as a betrayal of the relationship you forged? Just 30 seconds here because we need to get on to the next
one. So when I met with Barack Obama, we sat in the White House. Right at the beginning, had a great conversation. It was supposed to be 15 minutes, and it was well over an hour. He said the biggest problem we have with North Korea. He indicated we will be in a war with North Korea. Guess what? It would be a nuclear war, and he does have plenty of nuclear capability. In the meantime, I have a very good relationship with him. Different kind of a guy, but he probably thinks the same thing about me. We have a different kind of a relationship. We have a very good relationship, and there's no war. And, you know, about 2 months ago, he broke into a certain area. They said, oh, there's going to be trouble. I said, no, they're not, because he's not going to do that. And I was right. Look, instead of being in a war where millions of people, Seoul, you know, is 25 miles away, millions and millions, 32 million people in Seoul, millions of people would be dead right now.
President Trump, that's 30 seconds. Thank you. Vice President Biden, to you. North Korea conducted 4 nuclear tests under the Obama administration. Why do you think you would be able to rein in this persistent threat right now?
Because I'd make it clear, which we were making clear to China, they had to be part of the deal. Because here's the I made it clear, and as a spokesperson of the administration when I went to China, that they said, why are you moving your missile defense up so close? Why are you moving more forces here? Why are you continuing to do military maneuvers with South Korea? I said, because North Korea is a problem, and we're going to continue to do it.
Trump's got to come to the knockout.
We're going to make sure we can control them and make sure they cannot hurt us.
And so
if you want to do something about it, step up and help. If not, it's going to continue. What has he done? He's legitimized North Korea. He's talked about his good buddy, who's a thug, a thug, and he talks about how we're better off, and they have much more capable missiles, able to reach U.S. territory much more easily than ever did before.
Let me follow up with you, Vice President Biden. You've said you wouldn't meet with Kim Jong-un without preconditions. Are there any conditions under which you would meet with him?
On the condition that he would agree that he would be drawing down his nuclear capacity to get the Korean Peninsula should be nuclear-free zone.
The share button, people.
All right, let's move on to American families.
Kristen, they tried
Very
to
quickly,
meet with
10
him.
seconds,
They
President.
tried to meet with him. He wouldn't do it. He didn't like Obama. He didn't like him. He wouldn't do it.
Okay, I got to give him a chance to respond to that before we move on.
And that's okay.
Why does Joe Biden get to respond to that?
We're not in a war. We have a good relationship. You know, people don't understand. Having a good relationship
Trump,
with leaders of other countries is a good thing.
We have a lot of questions to get to.
We had a good relationship with Hitler before he, in fact, invaded Europe, the rest of Europe.
That's not
Come
true.
on. The reason he would not meet with President Obama is because President
never
Obama
had a
said,
good relationship
we're going to
with
talk
Europe.
about denuclearization. We're not going to legitimize you, and we're going to continue to put stronger and stronger sanctions on you. That's why he wouldn't meet with us.
All right,
And it didn't happen.
Let's move on and talk about American
families. He
families.
left me a mess, Kristen.
President Trump, okay, we do need to move on.
They left me a mess. North Korea was a mess. And in fact, if you remember the first 2 or 3 months, there was a very dangerous period in my first 3 months before we sort of worked things out a little bit.
Okay.
There was a they left us a mess. And Obama would be, I think, the first to say it was the single biggest problem he thought that our country.
Okay, let's move on to American families and the economy. One of the issues that's most important to them is health care, as you both know. Today, there was a key vote on a new Supreme Court Justice, Amy Coney Barrett, and health care is at the center of her confirmation fight. Over 20 million Americans get their health insurance through the Affordable Care Act. It's headed to the Supreme Court, and your administration, Mr. President, is advocating for the court to overturn it. If the Supreme Court does overturn that law, those 20 million Americans could lose their health insurance almost overnight. So what would you do if those people have their health insurance taken away? You have 2 minutes uninterrupted.
Sure. First of all, I've already done something that nobody thought was possible. Through the legislature, I terminated the individual mandate. That is the worst part of Obamacare, as we call it. The individual mandate where you have to pay a fortune for the privilege of not having to pay for bad health insurance. I terminated. It's gone. Now it's in court because Obamacare is no good. But then I made a decision. Run it as well as you can to my people, great people. Run it as well as you can. I could have gone the other route and made everybody very unhappy. They ran it. Premiums are down. Everything's down. Here's the problem. No matter how well you run it, it's no good. What we'd like to do is terminate it. We have the individual mandate done. I don't know that it's going to work. If we don't win, we will have to run it, and we'll have Obamacare, but it'll be better run. But it no longer is Obamacare, because without the individual mandate, it's much different. Pre-existing conditions will always stay. What I would like to do is a much better health care, much better, will always protect people with pre-existing. So I'd like to terminate Obamacare, come up with a brand new, beautiful health care. The Democrats will do it because there'll be tremendous pressure on them, and we might even have the House by that time, and I think we're going to win the House, okay? You'll see, but I think we're going to win the House. But come up with a better health care, always protecting people with pre-existing conditions. And one thing very important, we have 180 million people out there that have great private health care. Far more than we're talking about with Obamacare. Joe Biden is going to terminate all of those policies. These are people that love their health care, people that have been successful, middle-income people, been successful. They have 180 million plans, 180 million people, families. Under what he wants to do, which will basically be socialized medicine, he won't even have a choice, they want to terminate 180 million plans. We have done an incredible job on health care, and we're going to do even better.
Okay, Vice President Biden, yes, this is for you. Your health care plan calls for building on Obamacare. So my question is, what is your plan if the law is ruled unconstitutional by the Supreme Court? You have 2 minutes uninterrupted.
What I'm going to do is pass Obamacare with a public option. Become Biden care. The public option is an option that says that if you, in fact, do not have the wherewithal to be, if you qualify for Medicaid and you do not have the wherewithal in your state to get Medicaid, you automatically are enrolled, providing competition for insurance companies.
Great.
That's what's going to happen. Secondly,
Marissa.
we're going to make sure we reduce the premiums and reduce drug prices by making sure that there's competition that doesn't exist now by allowing the Medicare to negotiate drug prices with the insurance companies. Thirdly, the idea that I want to eliminate private insurance, the reason why I had such a fight with 20 candidates for the nomination was I support private insurance.
That was a bad one.
That's why I didn't. Not one single person with private insurance would lose their insurance under my plan, nor did they under Obamacare. They did not lose their insurance unless they chose they wanted to go to something else.
Lie.
Lastly,
That's a
we
lie.
want to make sure we're in a situation that we actually protect pre-existing. There's no way he can protect pre-existing conditions. None. Zero. You can't do it in the ether.
Not doing good.
He's been talking about this for a long time. There is he's never come up with a plan. I guess we're going to get the pre-existing condition plan the same time we get the infrastructure plan that we've been waiting since 17, 18, 19, and 20. The fact, I still have a few more minutes. I know you're getting anxious. The fact is that he's already cost the American people, because of his terrible handling of the COVID virus and the economic spillover, 10 million people have lost their private insurance.
It's not going away.
And he wants to take away 22 million more people who have it under Obamacare, and over 110 million people with pre-existing conditions. And all the people from COVID are going to have pre-existing conditions. What are they going to do?
I have a follow-up for you, Vice President Biden. It relates to something President Trump said. He's accusing you of wanting socialized medicine. What do you say to people who have concerns that your health care plan, which includes a government insurance option, takes the country one step closer to a health care system run entirely by the government? What's your response to
it's
them?
ridiculous. It's like saying that, we're the idea that the fact that there's a public option that people can choose, that makes it a socialist plan. Look, the difference between the president, I think health care is not a privilege, it's a right. Everyone should have the right to have affordable health care. And I am very proud of my plan. It's gotten endorsed by all the major labor unions, as well as a whole range of other people who, in fact, are concerned in the medical field. This is something that's going to save people's lives, and this is going to give some people an opportunity to have health care for their children. How many of you home are worried and rolling around in bed tonight wondering what in God's name you're going to do if you get sick because you've lost your home insurance, your health insurance your company's gone under? We have to provide health insurance for people
I broke my rule.
at an affordable rate.
That was
That's
bad.
what I do.
President Trump,
He was
your
there
response.
for 47 years. He didn't do it. He was now there as vice president for 8 years, and it's not like it was 25 years ago. It was 3 3/4. It was just a little while ago, right?
That was
Less
bad.
than 4 years ago. He didn't do anything. He didn't do it. He wants socialized medicine, and it's not that he wants it. His vice president, she is more liberal than Bernie Sanders and wants it even more. Bernie Sanders wants it. The Democrats want it. You're going to have socialized medicine, just like he went with fracking. We're not going to have fracking. We're going to stop fracking. We're going to stop fracking. Then he goes to Pennsylvania.
I don't care that I'm not allowed to have milk. That was really bad.
Lucky to get it. And he goes to Pennsylvania, and he says, "Oh, we're going to have fracking." And you never asked that question. And by the way, so far, I respect very much the way you're handling this, I have to say.
By the way.
But somebody should ask the question.
You can ask
he goes for a year. There will be no fracking.
We have a number of
Why don't
topics.
they use it?
Why don't they question?
We're going to get to
It's the same thing with socialized
I have
medicine.
to respond.
Vice President, your response, please.
My response is people deserve to have affordable health care, period. Period, period, period. And the Biden care proposal will, in fact, provide for that affordable health care, lower premiums. And what we're going to do is going to cost some money. It's going to cost over $750 billion over 10 years to do it. And they're going to have lower premiums. You can buy into the better plans, the cheaper plans, lower your premiums, deal with unexpected billing, and have your drug prices drop significantly. He keeps talking about it. He hasn't done a thing for anybody on health care. Not a thing.
Tristan, when
Very
he
quickly,
says,
then I want to talk
when
about
he
what's
says
happening on
public
Capitol
option,
Hill.
he's talking about socialized medicine and and health care. When he talks about a public option, he's talking about destroying your Medicare, totally destroying, and destroying your Social Security. And this whole country will come down. You know, Bernie Sanders tried it in his state. He tried it in his state. His governor was a very liberal governor. They wanted to make it work.
Okay,
let's let
Vice President Biden respond.
It doesn't
Vice
work.
President
He's
Biden,
a very
your
confused
response.
guy. He thinks he's running against somebody else. He's running against Joe Biden. I beat all those other people because I disagreed with them. Joe Biden, he's running against. And the idea that we're in a situation that they're going to destroy Medicare, this is the guy that the actuary at Medicare said, if in fact, at Social Security, if in fact he continues to withhold his plan to withhold the tax on Social Security, Social Security will be bankrupt by 2023 with no way to make up for it. This is the guy who's tried to cut Medicare. So the idea that Donald Trump lectured me on Social Security and Medicare, come on.
It's not real beer, it's
He
gas.
tried to get rid of. He tried to hurt Social Security years ago. Years ago. Go back and look at the records. He tried to hurt Social Security years ago.
All right, let's move on. I'm going to move on. Mr. President, I have to move on to the next question.
They said
or
the
else
stock
we're
market
not going to have time
will
to talk
boom
about it.
if I'm elected. If he's elected, the stock market will crash.
Okay, let's move on to the next question very quickly.
Look, the idea that the stock market is booming is his only measure of what's happening. Where I come from in Scranton and Claymont, the people don't live off the stock market. Just in the last three years during this crisis, the billionaires in this country made, according to the Wall Street, $700 billion more dollars. $700 billion more dollars. Because that's his only measure. What happens to the ordinary people out there? What happens to them?
Let's talk about what's happening on Capitol Hill. We're going to move on,
401ks are through the roof.
We're going to move on.
Stock are through the roof.
All right.
And he doesn't come from Scranton. That's like he lived there for a short period of time before he even knew it.
We're going to move on to the next question.
And the people of Pennsylvania
Let me
will
move
show
on
you
to
that.
my next question,
They
gentlemen.
understand.
As of tonight, more than 12 million people are out of work. And as of tonight, 8 million more Americans have fallen into poverty, and more families are going hungry every day. Those hit hardest are women and people of color. They see Washington fighting over a relief bill. Mr. President, why haven't you been able to get them the help they need? 30 seconds here.
Because Nancy Pelosi doesn't want to approve it. I do.
But you're the president.
I do, but I still have to get. Unfortunately, that's one of the reasons I think we're going to take over the House, because of her. Nancy Pelosi doesn't want to approve anything because she'd love to have some victories on a date called November 3rd. Nancy Pelosi does not want to approve it. We are ready, willing, and able to do something. Don't forget, we've already approved 3 plans, and it's gone through, including the Democrats, in all fairness. This one she doesn't want. It's near the election because she thinks it helps her politically. I think it hurts her politically.
All right, Mr. Vice President.
The Republican leader in the United States Senate said he can't pass it. He will not be able to pass it. He does not have Republican votes. Why isn't he talking to his Republican friends?
Let me follow up with you, Vice President
If we made a
Biden,
deal,
because
the Republicans
let me
will
ask
pass
Vice
it.
President Biden a question. You are the leader of the Democratic Party. Why have you not pushed the Democrats to get a deal for the American people?
Well, I have, and they have pushed it. Look, they passed this act all the way back in the beginning of the summer. This is like it's not new.
The HEROES Act.
It's been out there. This HEROES Act has been sitting there. And look at what's happening. Yeah. When I was in charge of the Recovery Act with $800 billion, I was able to get $145 billion to local communities that have to balance their budgets and states that have to balance their budgets, so they didn't have to fire firefighters, teachers, first responders, law enforcement officers, so they could keep their cities and counties running. He will not support that. They have not done a thing for them. And Mitch McConnell said, let them go bankrupt. Let them go bankrupt. Come on. What's the matter with these guys?
The bill that was passed in the House was a bailout of badly run, high-crime, Democrat, all run by Democrats, cities and states. It was a way of getting a lot of money, billions and billions of dollars to these states. It was also a way of getting a lot of money from our people's pockets to people that come into our country illegally. We were going to take care of everything for them. And what that does, and I'd love to do that, I'd love to help them, but what that does, everybody all over the world will start pouring into our country. We can't do it. This was a way of taking care of them. This was a way of spending on things that had nothing to do with COVID, as per your question. But it was really a big bailout for badly run Democrat cities and states.
All right,
if I get elected, I'm running as a proud Democrat, but I'm going to be an American president. I don't see red states and blue states. What I see as American, United States. And folks, every single state out there finds themselves in trouble. They're going to start laying off, whether they're red or blue, cops, firefighters, first responders, because teachers, because they have to balance their budget. And the founders were smart. They allowed the federal government to deficit spend to compensate for the United States of America.
I want to talk about the minimum wage, gentlemen. Mr. Vice President, we are talking a lot about struggling small businesses and business owners these days. Do you think this is the right time to ask them to raise the minimum wage? You, of course, support a $15 federal minimum wage.
I do, because I think one of the things we're going to have to do is we're going to have to bail them out, too. We should be bailing them out now, those small businesses. You got 1 in 6 of them going under. They're not going to be able to make it back. They passed a package that allows us to be able to call PPP. Money is supposed to go to help them do everything from organize how they can deal with their businesses being open safely. Schools, how they can make classrooms smaller, how they can hire more teachers, how they can put ventilation systems in. They need the help. The businesses as well as the schools need the help. But these guys will not help them. Is not giving them any of the money.
Oh, that was a bad one.
We are going to move on to immigration,
one thing very
but I want to
say we
hear
have
your
to help our
reaction.
small businesses by raising the minimum wage. That's not helping. I think it should be a state option. Alabama is different than New York. New York is different from Vermont. Every state is different. It should be a state option.
You said very recently.
We have to help. It's very important. We have to help our small businesses. How are you helping your small businesses when you're forcing wages? What's going to happen, and what's been proven to happen, is when you do that, these small businesses fire many of their employees.
You said very recently you would consider raising the federal minimum wage to $15 an hour. You said recently you would consider raising the federal minimum wage to $15 an hour. Is that still the case?
And I would consider it to an extent, but
in a
what I really like,
in
a second administration, but not to a level that's going to put all these businesses out of business. It should be a state option. Look, I've lived in different places. I know different places. They're
you're right.
Different.
It's a delay here.
Some places, $15 is not so bad. In other places, other states, $15 would be
Okay, President
ruinous.
Trump, thank you. Quick response, Vice President Biden.
2 jobs, 1 job, be below poverty. People are making $6, $7, $8 an hour. These first responders, we all clap for as they come down the street because they've allowed us to make it. What's happening?
This is bad.
They deserve a minimum wage of $15. Anything below that puts you below the poverty level. And there is no evidence that when you raise the minimum wage, businesses go out of business. That is simply not true.
We're going to talk about immigration. We're going to talk about immigration now, gentlemen, and we're going to talk about families within this context. Mr. President, your administration separated children from their parents at the border, at least 4,000 kids. You've since reversed your zero-tolerance policy, but the United States can't locate the parents of more than 500 children. So how will these families ever be reunited?
Children are brought here by coyotes and lots of bad people, cartels, and they're brought here, and they used to use them to get into our country. We now have as strong a border as we've ever had. We're over 400 miles of brand new wall. You see the numbers, and we let people in, but they have to come in legally, and they come in through merit.
But how will you reunite these kids with their families,
Let me just tell you,
Mr. President?
they built cages. You know, they used to say, I built the cages, and then they had a picture in a certain newspaper, and it was a picture of these horrible cages, and they said, look at these cages. President Trump built them, and then it was determined they were built in 2014. That was him.
Do you have a plan to reunite the kids?
Yes, we're working on it we're trying very hard. But a lot of these kids come out without the parents. They come over through cartels and through coyotes and through gangs.
Vice President Biden, let me bring you into this conversation. Quick response and then another question to you.
These 500-plus kids came with parents. They separated them at the border to make it a disincentive to come to begin with. Real tough. We're really strong. And guess what? They cannot, it's not coyotes didn't bring them over. Their parents were with them. They got separated from their parents.
Okay, Max.
And it makes us a laughing stock and violates every notion of who we are as a nation.
You're going to be on the toilet.
For instance, they did it. We changed the policy.
Your response
They
to
did
that?
it. We did
not.
They built the
separate
cages.
They,
Who built the cages?
let's talk about what
Who
we're
built the
talking about.
cages,
Let's
Joe?
talk about what we're talking about. What happened? Parents were ripped, their kids were ripped from their arms and separated.
Answer the
Now
question.
they cannot find over 500 sets of those parents, and those kids are alone. Nowhere to go. Nowhere to go. It's criminal. It's criminal.
Let me ask
Kristen,
you
I will
about
say
immigration.
this. They went down, we
Seconds, and then
brought
I need to
reporters,
ask-
everything. They are so well taken care of. They're in facilities that were so clean.
But some
that
of
have
them
gotten
haven't been
such
reunited
But
with their
just ask
families.
one question. Who built the cages? I'd love you to ask him that. Who built the cages?
Let me ask about your immigration policy, Mr. Vice President. The Obama administration did fail to deliver immigration reform, which had been a key promise during the administration. It also presided over record deportations as well as family detentions at the border before changing course. So why should voters trust you with an immigration overhaul now?
Because we made a mistake. It took too long to get it right. It took too long to get it right. I'll be president of the United States, not vice president of the United States. And the fact is, I've made it very clear. Within 100 days, I'm going to send to the United States Congress a pathway to citizenship for over 11 million undocumented people. And all of those so-called dreamers, those DACA kids, they're going to be immediately certified again to be able to stay in this country and put on a path to citizenship.
I got to tap out.
The
This is getting
idea
bad.
that they are being sent home by this guy and they want to do that is they've gone to a country they've never seen before. I can imagine you're 5 years old, your parents are taking you across the Rio Grande River and it's illegal. And you say, oh no, Mom, leave me here. I'm not going to go with you. They've been here. Many of them are model citizens. Over 20,000 of them are first responders out there taking care of people during this crisis. We owe them. We owe them.
Kristen, he had 8 years to do what he said he was going to do. And I've changed without having a specific. We got rid of catch and release. We got rid of a lot of horrible things that they put in and that they lived with. But he had 8 years he was vice president. He did nothing except build cages to keep children in.
Vice President Biden, your response.
The catch and release, you know what he's talking about there? If in fact you had a family came across and they were arrested, they in fact were given a date to show up for their hearing. They were released. And guess what? They showed up for a hearing. And this is the first president in the history of the United States of America that anybody seeking asylum has to do it in another country. That's never happened before in America. That's never happened before in America. You come to the United States and you make your case that I seek asylum based on the following premise, why I deserve it under American law. They're sitting in squalor on the other side of the river.
Sorry, I'm over-talking Biden, but Biden...
Your response,
So
30
important.
seconds, and then we'll move
It just shows that he has no understanding of immigration or the laws. Catch and release is a disaster. A murderer would come in, a rapist would come in, a very bad person would come in. We would take their name. We have to release them into our country. And then you say they come back. Less than 1% of the people come back. We have to send ICE out and Border Patrol out to find them. We would say, come back in 2 years, 3 years. We're going to give you a court case. You need Perry Mason. We're going to give you a court case. When you say they come back, they don't come back, Joe. They never come back. Only the really, I hate to say this, but those with the lowest IQ, they might come back.
Okay, President Trump, let's give Vice President Biden a chance to respond, and then we're going to move on to the next section.
You don't know the law, Joe.
Vice President Biden, your response.
Know the law, what he's telling you is simply not true.
Well, check it out. They don't come back.
Check it out.
All right, let's move on.
But we don't have to worry about it
because
because they terminated it, so we don't have to worry about it
Let's
anymore.
move on to the next
And you have
section.
525 kids not knowing where in God's name they're going to be and lost their parents.
Go ahead.
All right, let's talk about our next section, which is race in America. And I want to talk about the way Black and brown Americans experience race in this country. Part of that experience is something called the talk. It happens regardless of class and income. Parents who feel they have no choice but to prepare their children for the chance that they could be targeted, including by the police, for no reason other than the color of their skin. Mr. Vice President, in the next 2 minutes, I want you to speak directly to these families. Do you understand why these parents fear for their children?
I do. I do. You know, my daughter is a social worker, and she's written a lot about this. She has a graduate degree from the University of Pennsylvania in social work. And you know, one of the reasons why I ended up working on the east side of Wilmington, Delaware, which is 90% African American, was to learn more about what was going on. What I never had to tell my daughter if she's pulled over make sure she puts, for a traffic stop, put both hands on top of the wheel
It
and
says
don't
my
reach
mic
for the
is
glove box
trying to
because
fix
someone
it
may
right
shoot
now.
you. But a black
you didn't
parent,
bring a mic.
no matter how wealthy or how poor they are, has to teach their
Can you hear
child
me?
when you're walking down the street,
Yeah.
don't have a hoodie
Is that
on when
better?
you go across the street. Making sure that you, in fact, if you get
You good?
pulled over, yes, yes, sir, no,
I drank
sir,
too much milk.
hands on top of the wheel, because you are, in fact, the victim, whether you're
All
a
right.
person making child of a
Okay,
$300,000 a year
better.
person or someone who's on food stamps. The fact of the
All
matter
better?
is there is institutional
Not
racism
really,
in
but
America.
I'll be
And
fine.
we have always said,
Hey, everybody says it's a lot
we
better.
hold these
You
truths
quit
to be
crying.
self-evident. All men and women are created equal. But guess what? We have never, ever lived up to it. But we've always constantly been moving the needle further and further to inclusion, not exclusion. This is the first president to come along and says, that's the end of that. We're not going to do that anymore. We have to provide for economic opportunity, better education, better
didn't
health
throw
care,
up.
better access to
I ran
schooling,
my mouth
better
under a
access
faucet.
to opportunity to borrow money to
You had
start
to throw up?
businesses. All the things
I
we
didn't puke.
can do, and I've laid out a clear
I
plan.
can't
as to
drink
how
anymore,
to
so I had
do
to run
those
under a
things,
faucet.
just to give people a
I
shot.
just drank
It's about
quarter
acuity,
gallon of
the
milk.
ability to have wealth as
You have
well
to
as
eat
it
more
is
wings.
to be free from violence.
What? I have two more.
President Trump,
You can
same
take
question to
anything
you.
other
To
than
remind you
wings
of the
and everyone
question, I would
will be
like you
fine.
to speak directly to these
I know.
families. Do you understand why these parents fear for their children?
Don't
Yes,
chicken
I
out
do.
on us. What's the next
And
one?
again,
What's the
he's
next
been
one?
in government 47 years. He never did a thing
500,000
except in
Scoville.
It's
1994
Come on,
Max
Mac.
can
when
do
he
it.
did
Don't fail
such
us.
harm to the black community.
Joe, quiet. We can't
And
hear
they
when
were
you talk 'cause
called,
you're
and
that
he
mic.
called them super predators. And he said that. He said it, super predators. And they have never lived that down. 1994, your crime bill, the super predators. Nobody
Mac,
has
no,
done
the
more
full
for the
thing.
black
No little bites.
community
Big bites.
than
Big bites.
Donald Trump. And if you look, with the exception of Abraham Lincoln, possible exception, but the exception of
That one's actually
Abraham
not that bad.
Lincoln, nobody
The bomb
has
was- I
done
knew the bomb was
what
gonna be a
I've
problem
done.
for me.
Criminal justice reform, Obama and Joe didn't do it. I don't even think they tried because they had no chance at doing it. They might have wanted to do it, but if you
My
had to
wife is
see
here
the arms
cleaning
I
up
had
'cause
to
Max
twist
Jr.
to
spilled
get that
beer.
done, it
And when
was
I tried
not
to
a
hand her
pretty
something, she
picture.
pretended to
And
go into
everybody
labor.
knows it, including some very liberal people that cried in my office. They cried in the Oval Office. 2 weeks later, they're
Let me
out
take a
saying,
bigger bite.
gee, we have to
This
defeat
one's not
him.
that bad.
Criminal justice reform, prison reform, opportunity zones with Tim Scott, a great senator from South Carolina. He came in with this incredible idea for opportunity zones. It's one of the most successful programs. People don't talk about it. Tremendous investment is being made. Biggest beneficiary, the black and Hispanic communities, and then historically black colleges and universities. After 3 years of coming to the office, I love some of those guys. They were great. They came into the office and they said, I said, what are you doing? After 3 years, I said, why do you keep coming back? Because we have no funding. I said, you don't have to come back every year. We have to come back because President Obama would never give them long-term funding, and I did. 10-year long-term funding, and I gave them more money than they asked for because they said, I think you need more. And I said, the only bad part about this is I may never see you again because I got very friendly with them, and they like me and I like them. But I saved historically black colleges and universities.
Okay, and we're going to talk about both of your records, but your response to that, Vice President?
My response to that is I never, ever said what he accused me of saying.
Never
The
called them
fact of the
predators?
matter is, in 2000, though, after the crime bill had been in the law for a while, this is the guy who said, the problem with the crime bill, there's not enough people in jail. There's not enough people in jail. And go on my website, get the quote, the date when he said it. Not enough people. He talked about marauding gangs, young gangs, and the people who are going to maraud our cities.
Yeah.
This is a guy who in the Central Park five innocent black kids, he continued to push for making sure that they got the death penalty. None of them were guilty of
So
what
I
the
did. I
crime-
took a big
of
bite
the
out of
crimes
it.
they were suggested.
So
Look,
don't-
and talk about
Sad.
granted, he did in
That one
fact
wasn't as bad.
get 20 people. He commuted 20 people.
The bomb was worse than that.
We commuted
hands
over
down.
1,000 people's sentences. Over 1,000. The very law he's talking about is a law that, in fact, initiated by Barack Obama. And secondly, we're in a situation here where the federal prison system was reduced by 38,000 people
I'm good.
under our
I'm back.
administration. And one of these things we should be doing, there should be no minimum mandatories in the law. That's why I'm offering $20 billion to states to change their state laws to eliminate minimum mandatories and set up drug courts. No one should be going to jail because they have a drug problem. They should be going to rehabilitation, not to jail. We should fundamentally change the system, and that's what I'm going to do.
But why didn't he do it 4 years ago? Why didn't you do that 4 years ago, even less than that? Why didn't you do it? You were vice president. You keep talking about all these things you're going to do, and you're going to do this. But you were there just a short time ago, and you guys did nothing.
We did.
You know, Joe, I ran because of you. I ran because of Barack Obama, because you did a poor job. If I thought you did a good job, I would have never run. I would have never run. I ran because of you. I'm looking at you now. You're a politician. I ran because of you.
All right, Vice President Biden, your response to that, and then I do have some questions for both of you.
Well, I tell you what, I hope he does look at me, because what's happening here is, you know who I am, you know who he is, you know his character, you know my character, you know our reputations for honor and telling the truth.
Yep, I know his. Yeah, you
have this race. I'm anxious to see this take place. I am. The character of the country is on the ballot. Our character is on the ballot.
That's not true.
Look at us closely.
Let me ask some follow-up. Please respond, and then we're going to have follow-up questions.
If this stuff is true about Russia, Ukraine, China, other countries, Iraq, if this is true, then he's a corrupt politician.
All right.
So don't give me the stuff about how you're this innocent baby. Joe, they're calling you a corrupt politician.
Nobody.
President Trump, I want to stay on the issue of race. We're talking about the issue.
Laptop from hell.
President Trump, we're talking about race right now, and I do want to stay on the issue of race. President Trump,
I have to respond to that.
Please.
Because look,
No,
there are 50 former national intelligence who said that what he's accusing me of is a Russian plant. They have said
they said they had no evidence of that.
All the 5 former heads of the CIA, both parties, say what he's saying is a bunch of garbage. Nobody believes it except his and his good friend Rudy Giuliani.
You mean the laptop is now another Russia hoax?
And that's exactly what.
Is this where you're
going?
This is where he's going. The laptop is Russia,
Gentlemen,
Russia.
I want to stay on the issue of race.
You have to be kidding. Here we go again with Russia.
We're going to continue on the issue of race. Mr. President, you've described the Black Lives Matter movement as a symbol of hate. You've shared a video of a man chanting white power to millions of your supporters. You've said that black professional athletes exercising their First Amendment rights should be fired. What do you say to Americans who say that kind of language from a president is contributing to a climate of hate and racial strife?
Well, you have to understand, the first time I ever heard of Black Lives Matter, they were chanting pigs in a blanket, talking about police. Pigs, talking about our police. Pigs in a blanket, fry them like bacon. I said, that's a horrible thing. And they were marching down the street. And that was my first glimpse of Black Lives Matter. I thought it was a terrible thing. As far as my relationships with all people, I think I have great relationships with all people. I am the least racist person in this room.
Well, what do you say to Americans who are concerned by that rhetoric?
I don't know. I don't know what to say. I got criminal justice reform done and prison reform and opportunity zones. I took care of black colleges and universities. I don't know what to say. They can say anything. They can say anything. It makes me sad because I am the least racist person. I can't even see the audience because it's so dark. But I don't care who's in the audience. I'm the least racist person in this room.
Okay. Vice President Biden, let me ask you very quickly, and then I have a follow-up question for you.
Abraham Lincoln here is one of the most racist presidents we've had in modern history. He pours fuel on every single racist fire.
He just called him Abraham Lincoln?
Started off his campaign coming down the escalator saying he's going to get rid of those Mexican rapists.
He just called him Abraham Lincoln?
He's banned Muslims because they're Muslims. He has moved around and made everything worse across the board.
Trump has to call out. They just called him Abraham Lincoln.
Last time we were on stage, he said, I told him to stand down and stand ready. Come on. This guy is a dog whistle about as big as a fart.
Not an accurate quote.
President Trump, I'm going to give you 10 seconds to respond, and then I have a follow-up.
He made a reference to Abraham Lincoln. Where did that come in?
You said you're Abraham Lincoln.
No, where did that? No.
You said,
I said not since Abraham Lincoln has anybody done what I've done for the black community.
And I'm saying,
I didn't say I'm Abraham Lincoln. I said not since Abraham Lincoln has anybody done what I've done for the black community. Now, you have done nothing other than the crime bill, which put
Oh, God.
tens of thousands of black men, mostly, in jail.
All right, let me,
and you know what?
let me
they
ask
remember
Vice
it
President
because
Biden
if you look
a
at what's
question.
happening with the voting right now,
Let me ask
they
Vice
remember
President
that
Biden
you treated them
about
very, very badly. Just take a look at what's happening out there.
Vice President Biden, let me give you a chance to respond within this context. Crime bills that you supported in the 80s and 90s contributed to the incarceration of tens of thousands of young black men who had small amounts of drugs in their possession. They are sons, they are brothers, they're fathers, they're uncles, whose families are still to this day, some of them suffering the consequences. So speak to those families. Why should they vote for you?
One of the things is that in the 80s, we passed 100%, all 100 senators voted for it, a bill on drugs and how to deal with drugs. It was a mistake. I've been trying to change the since then, particularly the portion on cocaine. That's why I've been arguing that, in fact, we should not send anyone to jail for a pure drug offense. They should be going into treatment across the board. That's what we should be spending money on. That's why I set up drug courts, which were never funded by our Republican friends. They should not be going to jail for a drug or an alcohol problem. They should be going into treatment. That's what we've been trying to do. That's what I'm going to get done, because I think maybe the American people have now seen that, in fact, it was a mistake to pass those laws relating to drug. But they were not in the crime bill.
But why didn't he get it done? See, it's all talk, no action with these politicians. Why didn't he get it done? That's what I'm going to do when I become president. You were vice president along with Obama as your president, your leader, for 8 years. Why didn't you get it done? You had 8 years to get it done. Now you're saying you're going to get it done because you're all talk and no action, Jim.
We got a lot of it done. We released 38,000. We got 38,000 prisoners left from the.
You got nothing done.
38,000 prisoners were released from federal prison. There were over 1,000 people who were given clemency. In fact, we're the ones that put in the legislation saying we could look at pattern and practice of police departments and what they were doing, how they were conducting themselves. I could go on, but we began the process. We began the process. We lost an election. That's why I'm running to win back that election and change his terrible policy.
I just asked one question. Why didn't you do it in the 8 years, a short time ago? Why didn't you do it? You just said, I'm going to do that. I'm going to do this. You put tens of thousands of mostly black young men in prison. Now you're saying you're going to undo that. Why didn't you get it done? You had 8 years with Obama. You know why, Joe? Because you're all talk and no action.
All right, Vice President Biden, and then we're going to move on to the next section.
We had a Republican Congress.
She never lets Trump have the final word.
That's the answer.
Well, you got to talk him into it, Joe. Sometimes
all right.
You got to talk him into it.
We're going to move on to our next section,
like I did with criminal justice reform. I had to talk Democrats into it.
Gentlemen, we're running out of time, so we got to get on to climate change, please. You both have very different visions on climate change. President Trump, you say that environmental regulations
cares about climate
jobs
change
in the energy sector. Vice President Biden, you have said you see addressing climate change as an opportunity to create new jobs. For each of you, how would you both combat climate change and support job growth at the same time? Starting with you, President Trump, you have 2 minutes uninterrupted.
So we have the Trillion Trees program. We have so many different programs. I do love the environment, but what I want is the cleanest, crystal clear water, the cleanest air. We have the best, lowest number in carbon emissions, which is a big standard that I notice Obama goes with all the time. Not Joe. I haven't heard Joe use the term because I'm not sure he knows what it represents or means, but I have heard Obama use it. And we have the best carbon emission numbers that we've had in 35 years under this administration.
That doesn't look healthy.
We are working so well with industry.
That's an unhealthy color.
Look at China.
Look at that.
How filthy it is. Look at Russia.
Josh, on
Look
camera.
at India. It's
Yep, eat the whole thing.
The air is
No,
filthy.
the
The Paris Accord, I took us out because we were going to have to spend trillions of dollars, and we were treated very unfairly. When they put us in there, they did us a great disservice. They were going to take away our businesses. I will not sacrifice tens of millions of jobs, thousands and thousands of companies because of the Paris Accord. It was so unfair.
Yeah.
China doesn't kick in until 2030. Russia goes back to a low standard, and we kicked in right away. it would have destroyed our businesses. So, you ready? We have done an incredible job environmentally. We have the cleanest air, the cleanest water.
Maybe I've killed all my taste buds.
Emission standards that we've seen in many, many years.
Vice President
And we haven't destroyed our industries.
That wasn't bad.
Vice President Biden, 2 minutes to you, uninterrupted.
I'm taking another bite. That wasn't bad.
Climate warming, global warming is an existential threat to humanity. We have a
moral
obligation to deal with it.
That's awful.
We're told by all the leading scientists in the world we don't have much time. We're going to pass the point of no return within the next 8 to 10 years. 4 more years of this man eliminating all the regulations that were put in by us to clean up the climate, to clean up,
I've killed all my taste buds.
Limit emissions will put us in a position where we're going to be in real trouble.
Well,
Here's where we have a great opportunity. I was able to get both all the environmental organizations as well as labor, the people worried about jobs, to support my climate plan.
No, don't do more. It's starting to hit me now.
It will create millions of new good-paying jobs. We're going to invest in, for example, 50,000 charging stations on our highways so that we can own the electric car market of the future. In the meantime, China is doing that. We're going to be in a position where we're going to see to it that we're going to take 4 million existing buildings and 2 million existing homes and retrofit them so they don't leak as much energy, saving hundreds of millions of barrels of oil in the process and creating significant number of jobs. And by the way, the whole idea of what this is all going to do, it's going to create millions of jobs, and it's going to clean the environment. Our health and our jobs are at stake. That's what's happening. And what right now, by the way, Wall Street firms indicated that my plan will in fact create 18.6 million jobs, 7 million more than his. This is from Wall Street. And I'll create $1 trillion more in economic growth than his proposal does. Not on climate, just on the economy.
President Trump, you're
Today came out and said very strongly, $6,500 will be taken away from families under his plan, that his plan is an economic disaster. If you look at what he wants to do, if you look at his plan, his environmental plan, you know who developed it? AOC plus 3. They know nothing about the climate. I mean, she's got a good line of stuff, but she knows nothing about the climate. And they're all hopping through hoops for AOC plus 3. Look, their real plan costs $100 trillion. If we had the best year in the history of our country for 100 years, we would not even come close to a number like that. When he says buildings, they want to take buildings down because they want to make bigger windows into smaller windows. As far as they're concerned, if you had no window, it would be a lovely thing. This is the craziest plan that anybody has ever seen. And this wasn't done by smart people. This wasn't done by anybody. Frankly, I don't even know how it can be good politically. Right. They want to spend $100 trillion. That's their real number. He's trying to say it was 6. It's $100 trillion. They want to knock down buildings and build new buildings with little, tiny, small and many other things.
Okay.
And many other things.
Let me have the Vice President respond, and we're running out of time, and we have a lot more questions to get to.
Country.
So let's hear from the Vice President. I have a number more questions.
I don't know where he comes from. I don't know where he comes up with these numbers.
Queens.
$100 trillion. Give me a break. This plan is endorsed by every major environmental group and every labor group. Labor, because they know the future lies. The future lies in us being able to breathe, and they know there are good jobs in getting us there. And by the way, the fastest growing industry in America is solar energy and wind. He thinks wind causes cancer, windmills. It's the fastest growing jobs, and they pay good prevailing wages, $45, $50 an hour. We can grow and we can be cleaner if we go the route I'm proposing.
President Trump, please respond, and then I have some follow-ups.
We are energy independent for the first time. We don't need all of these countries that we had to fight war over because we needed their energy. We are energy independent. I know more about wind than you do. It's extremely expensive. kills all the birds. It's very intermittent. It's got a lot of problems, and they happen to make the windmills in both Germany and China. And the fumes coming up, if you're a believer in carbon emission, the fumes coming up to make these massive windmills is more than anything that we're talking about with natural gas, which is very clean. One other thing.
Find me a scientist said that.
I love solar, but solar doesn't quite have it yet. It's not powerful yet to really run our big, beautiful factories that we need to compete with the world.
I'm not throwing up. I'm running my mouth underwater.
It's all a pipe dream.
You're lying.
You know what we'll do? We're going to have the greatest economy in the world. But if you want to kill the economy, get rid of your oil industry. You want, and what about fracking?
All right, let me allow Vice President Biden to respond.
I never said I oppose fracking.
You said it on tape.
I did. Show the tape. Put it on your website.
I'll put it on.
Put it on the website. The fact of the matter is he's flat lying.
Would you rule out banning fracking?
I do rule out banning fracking because the answer, we need other industries to transition to get to ultimately a complete zero emissions by 2025. What I will do with fracking over time is make sure that we can capture the emissions from the fracking, capture the emissions from gas. We can do that, and we can do that by investing money and doing it. But it's a transition to that.
I have one more question in this pod, and then we have.
He was against fracking. He said it. I will show that to you tomorrow. I am against fracking. Until he got the nomination, went to Pennsylvania, then he said, but you know what, Pennsylvania? He'll be against it very soon because his party is totally against it.
Fracking on federal land, I said. No fracking or oil on federal land.
Let me ask this final question in this section, and then I want to move on to our final section. President Trump, people of color are much more likely to live near oil refineries and chemical plants. In Texas, there are families who worry the plants near them are making them sick. Your administration has rolled back regulations on these kinds of facilities. Why should these families give you another 4 years in office?
The families that we're talking about are employed heavily, and they are making a lot of money, more money than they've ever made. If you look at the kind of numbers that we produce for Hispanic, for Black, for Asian, it's 9 times greater, the percentage gain, than it was under, in 3 years, than it was under 8 years of the 2 of them, to put it nicely. 9 times more. Now, somebody lives, I have not heard the numbers or the statistics that you're saying, but they're making a tremendous amount of money economically. We saved it, and I saved it again a number of months ago when oil was crashing because of the pandemic. We saved it. We got, say what you want about relationship, we got Saudi Arabia, Mexico, and Russia to cut back, way back. We saved our oil industry, and now it's very vibrant again. And everybody has very inexpensive gasoline. Remember
Vice President Biden, your response, and then we're going to have a final question for both of you.
My response is that those people live on what they call fence lines. He doesn't understand this. They live near chemical plants that, in fact, pollute, chemical plants and oil plants and refineries that pollute. I used to live near that when I was growing up in Claymont, Delaware. And the more oil refineries in Marcus Hook and the Delaware River than there is any place, including in Houston at the time. When my mom get in the car and when there was first frost to drive me to school, turn in the windshield wiper, there'd be oil slick in the window. That's why so many people in my state were dying and getting cancer.
Come on.
The fact is, those frontline communities, it doesn't
Oil's
matter
raining from the sky. What the hell?
How you keep them safe. What do you do? And you impose restrictions on the pollutions the pollutants coming out of those fence line communities.
Okay, I have one final question.
Would he close down the oil industry?
It falls.
Would you close down the oil industry?
By the way, I would transition from the oil industry, yes.
Oh,
I would
that's
transition.
a big statement.
It is a big statement.
That's a
because
big statement.
I would stop.
Why would you do that?
Because the oil industry pollutes significantly.
I see.
Here's the deal. But
That's
you
a
can't
big
do
statement.
that. Well, if you let me finish the statement, because it has to be replaced by renewable energy over time. Over time. And I'd stop giving to the oil industry, I'd stop giving them federal subsidies. He won't give federal subsidies to the gas, excuse me, to solar and wind.
Yeah.
Why are we giving it to oil industry?
We actually do give it to solar and wind. And that's maybe the biggest statement in terms of business. That's the biggest statement.
Okay.
Because basically what he's saying is he is going to destroy the oil industry. Will you remember that, Texas? Will you remember that, Pennsylvania, Oklahoma?
Vice President Biden, let me give you 10 seconds to respond, and then I have to get to the final question. Vice President Biden.
He takes everything
Why
out
does he
of
get a
context,
final
but
response?
The point is, look, We have
Wasn't
to
that
move
context?
toward a net zero emissions. The first place to do that by the year 2035 is in energy production, by 2050 totally.
All right. One
Is he
final
going to get
question
China
to
to do
both.
it?
No, we're finished with
Is
this.
he
We
going
have
to
to
get
move
China
on to
to
our
do it?
final question. We
No,
have to
I'm
move
going
on
to
to our
rejoin
final
the
question.
Paris Accord and make China abide by what they agreed to.
All right,
That'll
this
cost you
is
$1
about
trillion.
leadership, gentlemen. And this first question does go to you, President Trump. Imagine this is your inauguration day. What will you say in your address to Americans who did not vote for you? You'll each have 1 minute, starting with you, Mr.
We have to make our country totally successful as it was prior to the plague coming in from China. Now we're rebuilding it, and we're doing record numbers, 11.4 million jobs in a short period of time, et cetera. But I will tell you, go back. Before the plague came in, just before, I was getting calls from people that were not normally people that would call me. They wanted to get together. We had the best black unemployment numbers in the history of our country. Hispanic, women, Asian, people with diplomas, with no diplomas, MIT graduates, #1 in the class. Everybody had the best numbers. And you know what? The other side wanted to get together. They wanted to unify. Success is going to bring us together. We are on the road to success. But I'm cutting taxes, and he wants to raise everybody's taxes, and he wants to put new regulations on everything. He will kill it. If he gets in, you will have a depression, the likes of which you've never seen. Your 401ks will go to hell, and it'll be a very, very sad day for this country.
All right. Vice President Biden, same question to you. What will you say during your inaugural address to Americans who did not vote for you?
I will say, I'm an American president. I represent all of you, whether you voted for me or against me. And I'm going to make sure that you're represented. I'm going to give you hope. We're going to move. We're going to choose science over fiction. We're going to choose hope over fear. We're going to choose to move forward because we have enormous opportunities to make things better. We can grow this economy. We can deal with the systemic racism. And at the same time, we can make sure that our economy is being run and moved and motivated by clean energy, creating millions of new jobs. And that's the fact. That's what we're going to do. And I'm going to say, as I said at the beginning, what is on the ballot here is the character of this country. Decency, honor, respect, treating people with dignity, making sure that everyone has an even chance. And I'm going to make sure you get that. You haven't been getting it the last 4 years.
All right. I want to thank you both for a very robust hour and a half, a fantastic debate. Really appreciate it. President Trump, former Vice President Joe Biden. Thank you to Belmont University for hosting us tonight. And most importantly, thank you to those watching tonight. Election Day is November 3rd.
Let's pause it.
Don't forget to vote.
Okay. So, Mr. Producer, put on the call number. Put on the number on the title. 888-441-1121. Mr. Producer had to go off the air because he touched his eyes, which is something you never do when you use hot sauce. You never touch your eye. I was not puking. I went and I ran my mouth under a faucet because I just drank almost all of this milk. She's not even upstairs. She's not even upstairs. I have all of this milk in my stomach. I don't have any room. I don't have any room. I don't have any room in my stomach to drink anything.
Growing up.
That's
I'm
not
sorry,
true.
Max.
That's just not true.
Your wife. She's 9 months pregnant. She's right. You're wrong.
Yeah, it's not true. I'm sure she's texting you saying that it's true. So I just want to make sure that we get rid of that fake news. But the number to call, 888-441-1121. I want to know, who do you think won the debate? I'll go ahead and put it on Facebook, a poll. Who do you think won the debate? Donald Trump or Joe Biden? I think it was pretty obvious it was Trump. That final moment where Trump actually got Biden to admit that he wants to get rid of the energy industry, and you can see the moderators like, no, we're gonna go to the next question, trying to save him, saved by the bell. Incredible. I think it was pretty obvious that Trump won. But go ahead, call us who you think won. 888-441-1121, and we'll take your call. We'll take your call for a few minutes. Last time we had a bunch of calls. Let's see who will call in. Mr. Producer will be manning the phones. I thought that Trump landed serious blows, Joe, when it came to Hunter Biden. He had Joe Biden on the ropes. He didn't go for the kill shot, but I thought that he did a very good job of getting Joe Biden on the ropes. He started slurring his words. You could see he was getting angry. And nothing that Trump said about Hunter was false. It was all true.
100%. 100%.
And Joe starts saying that it's the Russians.
I got to tell you, it gets worse and worse the more we actually hear him talk, because he smiled through it. What does every politician do? They smile and nod and, oh, that's not true, and try to make you seem like they're your friend. What does the devil do? Max, we're dealing with an innate amount of evil. It's evil. These are evil people. They have evil regard for the American people. They think you're stupid. They think you're stupid. Yeah. That's what they think. And they think minorities are dumber than anyone else. They do. Yeah. They're racist. They're pedophiles, rapists, and closet racists. And they literally want to take advantage of minorities 100%. 100%.
I thought that one of the best parts of the night was when Joe Biden's like, we're going to do this for the black community. We're going to do this. And Trump looks at him and said, why didn't you do it? You were vice president for 8 years. You've been in D.C. for 47. Why didn't you do it? I don't get it. I don't get it at all. I don't get it one bit. But I thought that was a great moment where Trump's saying, well, if you're going to do all these things, why are you taking so long to get around to doing it? Why didn't you even try to do it? And Biden's like, well, I would have to work with Republicans. Did we lose Joe's audio?
For a minute. It's snowing in Denver right now. There's black ice, and my wife was calling me, so I had to make sure she was good.
Guys, we do have a call. It is Tyler. He's on the phone.
Come on, Tyler. Let's go.
Hey, Tyler, what do you think of the debate? We got Tyler on?
Unmuted by the... Can you guys hear me?
We can hear you. What do you think of the debate?
I actually enjoyed it. It was a lot better. It wasn't as, nerve-wracking as the first one, for sure. By the way, Joe, your mic got muted by, the debaters, the debate moderators. So
yeah, that might be what happened.
I wanted to talk to get your guys' take on the whole fracking issue. I mean, you think Trump's going to put up a whole campaign ad about Joe Biden saying he was going to ban fracking?
Oh,
I hope they do. Yeah.
Well, I don't know if you've seen what Trump's been doing at his rallies lately. He has jumbotrons set up where he just plays Joe Biden's comments about fracking. So when Joe said that there's no video, put it on your website. I guarantee you that if it isn't already on Donald Trump's website, it will be shortly. They've already had all these things made. They have like 5-minute long montages of this. I mean, he said it. He's going to ban fracking. He said, fracking, mark my words. And it was amazing how the moderator, it was Saved by the Bell. It was trying to save him. They saw he was up against the ropes. His legs were flailing. Trump was going in for the knockout, and just like last time, just like Chris Wallace, they were trying to save Joe Biden by the bell.
Yeah.
Did you like that Trump gave Biden time to hang himself as opposed to trying to interrupt?
Oh, absolutely. Somebody probably set him aside and was like, hey, Mr. President, let him just kind of talk. If you just let him talk, he'll do it to himself. He'll do it to himself.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, thank you so much for the call, Tyler. We have a few people on the line. We want to make sure we get to everyone. But thank you so much for the call. We now have Chris on the line. Wants to talk about the debate. Chris, how's it going? Oh, we got him.
Hello.
Hey, Chris, how's it going?
Hey guys, what's up?
How you doing?
Sorry, there's a little bit of a delay between when I go to someone and when it gets on. What do you think of the debate?
I think it was a lot better. It's actually good to hear them talk and make their points, and just in Joe Biden's case, it's better for him to put his foot in his mouth.
Yeah, what do you think was the biggest standout moment? I think that there were a couple moments that Trump can use. I don't think there was any kind of knockout punch during the whole thing, but there were a couple of moments where he had Joe Biden up on the ropes, and I think they can definitely use those to further their message. What was your biggest Trump win of the night?
I think the biggest wins is when Trump exposes the hypocrisy, the whole fracking thing. Just the more that he can expose the flip-flopping that Joe has been doing, the better. So that's what wins it for me. Especially, Hope. I'm sure he is going to put it on his page, and I can't wait to see that, and I can't wait to have a good laugh too.
What did you think of Trump bringing up Hunter Biden? Do you think he did a good enough job with that?
I think he did as best as he could, because the moderator there was trying to deflect. Joe, of course, kept denying and denying, but dear God, I can't wait for those emails to come out.
They're still coming out, and as we said, Tony Bobulinski was in the audience.
There's a lot more. There's a lot more coming out right now. A lot more.
Oh, it's juicy. It's juicy. I can't wait.
Do you think that? So obviously Trump did much better. Do you think that the media is going to be able to spin this as a win for Biden, or do you think that they'll do what they always do every time a Republican actually wins, say it was a draw? What do you think they'll be able to spin this for Biden?
Yeah, they're going to spin it on the smallest advantages that Joe Biden made in this debate. They're going to show, they're going to make like those one or two lines of his that he made and pretend like it was the greatest debate ever for Joe and that he just stomped all over Trump. That's how they're going to spin it.
Yeah, and you're absolutely right. From MSNBC, there's a Trump says nation is learning to live with it. Biden says no, we're dying with it. They're trying to take his one-liner and save and use that to save him, even though he got dunked on all night.
Doom and gloom, that's all they do.
Yeah, no, people want to feel hopeful. They don't want to be governed by someone who's too afraid to leave his basement. Well, thank you so much for the call, Chris. We got a couple people on. We want to make sure we get everyone. Thank you so much for the call. And I'll let everyone know that we do have, we'll be on the air tomorrow doing a full fact check. So make sure you check us out at 2 p.m. Eastern. Joe, I don't know if you'll be on it. I'll be on it doing the fact check. 2 p.m. Eastern, Facebook and YouTube. Make sure you like and subscribe to the pages. Yeah.
Yeah, tomorrow I will actually be on an airplane heading back to Denver. So I'll try to make it. If the plane lands on time, then great. Otherwise, I'll see you Monday.
Okay. Yeah, so we'll do a deep dive fact check tomorrow where I'll be pulling all the clips. A little hard. It's easier to do this when you're not drinking, but there still is the hot sauce, the hot sauce lingering. The worst part of that hot sauce experience was not on the tongue. My taste buds had been paralyzed for the last 50 minutes. It's when a little bit of it gets on the underneath of your tongue or gets on the inside of your mouth, and then it just radiates. So it was.
I'm still suffering from the effects of the last.
Well, Josh, that's because you touched your eyeball.
And I'm trying to answer the phone calls here, and people are making fun of me for coughing. And we have Frank on the line coming up, and I think he accused me of having COVID. I'm not sure.
We have Frank on the line. Frank says that Trump tore Biden apart. Frank, how's it going?
It's going great. I saw you guys in action completely. I mean, I was watching the whole thing. I'd give Trump a TKO on Biden. I mean, no questions asked. This time he did maintain his cool. And even though Kristen Welker, it's a miss. So I still say Trump's going to be president of the United States no matter what come November 3rd.
So if it wasn't a TKO, who do you had? Let's go with the boxing metaphors. Who did you have winning on points? If he didn't have a TKO,
definitely Trump. Definitely Trump on points. I mean, if it was a boxing debate on the point scale, I would say definitely Trump. Points hands down. Biden never had a prayer.
Yeah, and just to keep going with the boxing metaphors, there were times where Joe Biden was on the canvas, where he had just been knocked down on the canvas, and instead of giving him the count, you had the moderator helping him up.
Yes, I mean it was just like with Chris Wallace in the first time around. Yeah. I mean every time Trump threw a body punch and Biden went down, I could tell by the way Biden was behaving and acting and everything. It was just, I think the blows really got to him, to tell you the truth.
Yeah.
Yeah, Frank, how about the smile? How about the smiles? Like every time he knew he was in trouble, he just smiled.
Well, every time I was listening to Biden, I mean, I was hearing that laugh of his just like the first time around, and I'm saying, okay, yeah, I mean, if Biden's got nothing really to talk about, that laughter of his was just kind of a little nerve-wracking, to tell you the truth. I was thinking that maybe if Trump had a pie in his hands, he'd throw that pie right in Biden's face to get rid of that laugh. That laugh was just disgusting.
It was. What was your top moment of the night? What do you think was Trump's best zinger, best attack that is going to help him moving forward? What do you think was the best moment?
The best moment, I'd stick with the COVID-19 situation. The way Trump's handling it, I say that was practically the best thing overall right there.
Yeah, I didn't even talk about that when he's mentioning that he doesn't have the luxury of hiding in his basement, that he'd love to hide in the White House for a year and a half, but he has to run the country. I didn't even think about that because that was so many hot wings ago. But yeah, no, he did a very good job when it came to COVID. What do you think, Joe Otto?
I think he did great. Listen, President Trump looked very, very, very composed. He looks like he spent the last 4 years getting up to speed, 47 years worth of being a politician. And one of the things that I think that President Trump said very carefully and very clearly is that I was a business guy. I came into this to run this like a business. I want the American people to actually be able to get back to work. I want them to thrive. I want them to have opportunity. And all the things that Biden is talking about is because he has business experience. And the people in this country need access to opportunities. And I just don't believe – I think the American people saw right through it, and they saw that, hey, listen, Trump only ran for office because Biden and Obama were a disaster.
Yep.
So I got to tell you, I give him 2 thumbs up. You know, Siskel and Ebert, whatever you want to say it, it's the best movie ever. He did absolutely phenomenal. And he kept his cool, but he also made sure he drilled the point home that Biden is nothing but a corrupt politician, just like the rest of the Democrats. That's
Frank, we got another caller, but before I let you go, do you think this is going to help Trump? Do you think Trump's going to win?
Hands down. Hands down. Trump's got it wrapped up in the bag. I mean, put a fork in Biden. That's all I can say.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for the call, Frank. Really do appreciate it. We got a couple more callers. We got Chad on the line. Anyone who also wants to call 888-441-1121. Chad, how's it going?
Good.
What do you think of the debate?
I didn't like that Biden was going in circles. Everything he was talking about, it just seemed like it was going in circles. It didn't make sense.
Yeah, he has that tendency.
Yeah.
What do you think about him? Time. Oh, thank you. What do you think about him spontaneously calling Donald Trump Abraham Lincoln?
Yeah, that was different.
I didn't like that. Especially when me and my girlfriend went to Rushmore. Yeah, that didn't make sense at all.
And he tries to play it off by, you said you're Abraham Lincoln. And Trump's like, I never said that.
Yeah.
How would you score the debate? So would you score it as a knockout? As Frank was talking, a technical knockout? Do you think Trump won on points? How would you score this if it was a boxing match?
It was a knockout. I think Trump won.
Yeah?
Yeah, but how the world is now, who knows if Biden will win or – yeah.
And what state do you live in, if you don't mind my asking?
Missouri.
Oh, Missouri. Okay, so you're probably solid in the red. You're solidly in the red camp. What are you seeing on the ground? Are you seeing more Trump signs or more Biden signs?
Trump. And actually, there was one Biden sign, and somebody painted, what did it say, fuck you, or something? It said something on it.
Yeah, well, every neighborhood has one. Every village has an.
Yep.
Well, thank you so much for the call, Chad. Really do appreciate it. And say hi to your girlfriend for us. We heard her in the background.
I will.
Thanks, thanks for the call. Yeah, it was every single segment. I don't think, if we're scoring it, Joe, based on a boxing match, I don't think Biden really won any of the rounds.
No.
I don't think he really landed any body blows.
I think it was 7 to 10 every round, right? I mean,
yeah.
But I will tell you that the moderator, as much as I thought, she did much better. She did a lot better in making sure that she controlled it, but she kept giving the last word to Biden. She kept actually referring back to Biden. I don't care about fair treatment. I don't think President Trump needs the extra time. I think he got his point across, but I will tell you that the moderator was clearly on one side than she was the other, and that's the problem with the loony left. The loony left does not have any interest in truth or reality, and as long as we understand that, then we can actually look at it and go, well, Biden kept saying, hey, Trump did this and Trump did that. And when Trump came back and said, who built the cages? He didn't answer it.
He didn't answer
most things. He didn't answer anything. So I think we've come to a place where we realize that the Democrats really just, if you scratch just below the surface, are completely an empty shell, a shell of things that might have been, but they have no interest in being. They just want to make promises they can't deliver on. And when they get in the office, they get amnesia. Trump has always been for creating a better life for people in America. And he's done a tremendous job doing that.
So I'm just going to list the results of the poll. No surprise, 100% of people on the stream right now say Trump won. 0% say Biden. Not a single person answered the poll saying that Biden had won. I think that's pretty obvious. I don't know. I'm going to watch it again tonight. Sans hot wings, just to get a better feel for it. I'm feeling good now. I feel like I could eat more wings. My biggest problem is I drank so much damn milk. And I feel like my stomach is just sticking out from a gallon of milk. I'm gonna watch it again tonight. We'll do a full fact check tomorrow. I agree with your analysis on her. I think that her performance as a moderator was much better than I anticipated going in.
100%.
I thought that she was much fairer to Trump when Trump would. And Trump always does this. He's great at it. He sees that she's about to interrupt him, and he kind of stops her, right? He kind of puts the hand out and stops her. She was very respectful with letting him speak. But, she gave the final word to Joe Biden what seemed like every single time. I'm going to go back and watch it.
And he's the president
it felt like every
of the United States. He's the president. Yeah. He's the current president of the United States. That's the person that should get the last word. Right. And
I did hear at least one moment where Donald Trump's mic actually did get cut off. And it wasn't going into Biden's 2 minutes. It was going into like the segment. So it's almost like they had it set up so at 2 minutes it automatically turned off people's mics. I don't like that. I don't like that. You should let him finish the sentence.
He interrupted Trump probably 100 times. Right.
So also, I think that if we're going to give an award to who had the most silence during their time, it was Biden. There were a couple moments where Biden actually just like stared like weirdly, like just like he said no and just like paused. Very weird. I don't think that Sleepy Joe was on his game. It was noticeable that he was failing and he was kind of getting worse. Chad says CNN is saying that Lincoln was a joke. No, I think that was actually a look into Joe Biden's dementia mind. I think that he thought about it and he couldn't put the words together and he actually called him Abraham Lincoln. That was almost as alarming as him admitting that he wants to get rid of the oil industry. So, but we're going to do a full fact check tomorrow. But until then, I'm going to get off and I'm going to watch it again, pull all the clips, do the fact check tomorrow. Joe, night's still early for you. What's your plan tonight in Vegas?
Before you get off, I'm gonna go hang out with a couple of the fellas that are here. We're here for a charity tournament for the Children's Diabetes Foundation. It's an amazing organization that works with kids that are diagnosed with type 1 diabetes. Sorry. But COVID. I do want to – COVID. It's not COVID. But I do need to grab one here in a minute while Josh pulls something up for me. So I had Josh go ahead and pull up my hole-in-one, which I took on the hole. So this is our guys that actually that's not the one who took on the hole, but that's the flag that they gave me. And then just so you know, I want to point this out. So I believe great things happen in threes. The first of which I got a hole-in-one, my first one ever. The second was I am an avid Pittsburgh Steelers fan, right? Take that down.
Yeah.
Okay, take that. All right, so I'm an avid Pittsburgh Steelers fan, and right as I was coming back into the clubhouse, I had my Pittsburgh Steelers socks on. I'm actually going to pull it up for you so you can see it. Here's my sock, Pittsburgh Steelers. So I was walking back into the clubhouse, and I look up, and you know who was there?
The bus.
Jerome Bettis, the bus.
The bus.
Right? Anybody who knows
good.
anything about me? Yeah, he looks great. Anything knows anything about me? I have his jersey, his championship jersey, hanging up in my office. He goes, "So you're a Steelers fan?" And I go, "Yes." I took my shoe off and said, "Hey, look at my socks." He said, "Look, I got to take a picture with you." He took a picture with me. It was a great moment. But I will tell you
good
that
for a 48-year-old.
Yeah, he looks great. He looks great. I looked good for a 46-year-old. So. But I'm going to tell you that I believe good things happen in threes. I'm not going to push my luck tonight. I think the third thing that I would like to be, the third thing that I'd like to have happen that is, kind of a gift from God would be for President Trump to be elected to a second term. So I'll hold off. Unselfishly, I would give all of that glory to letting God kind of provide that for us as a country, because I think we desperately need it. So. Although I'd like to say, I'm in Vegas and I'd love for, to hit the jackpot. I'll forego all of that just to have President Trump be our president for another 4 years and to straighten out all the nonsense that we have going on. So I'm going to
say that I want to harness your luck, and I want all that to happen. But I also want you to put some money on red for me, because I have a feeling that I want to profit off of your streak of threes.
Yeah, I would also like you to put some money on green for me while we're at it.
Yeah, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to tell you right now, I'm not going to put anything on red or green or anything else. I'm going to go break some bread. Yeah.
If you believe that you're due one more lucky thing, it's a lot of time between now and the election. There's a lot of other things you can get lucky on.
Yeah,
I think I
need new shoes.
I guess what I'm saying here, right, is I'm looking up and hey, look. There's a couple things that we need to know as people, right? So we need to know that we need to stay diligent. We need to vote. We need to have a voice. We need to be courageous. But there's something else that we need to do, and that means we need to pray, right? So, I would gladly forgo any other future luck right now just so we could have the President of the United States stay the President of the United States and protect us from this absolute lunacy that's happening on the left. So, guys, listen. There's a lot of things that I could say that would be really nice to go downstairs and hit double green zeros. I'd have to bet on it first, I guess. But I want you to tell you that we're in a very unique place in our country where we're faced with probably the most important election in the last 50 years. And he's preserving the rights of people around us. And man, I feel so grateful to be a part of it. And I think I'm grateful for you to be a part of it. And I will tell you, please stand up, please stand tall, and protect the United States of America. That's what I would say.
Well, great final words. I will ask you, do put a little money on red for me. I want to get some of that luck. I want it. I want some of that luck. No, but a great final message. We got a lot of work to do. The work's not over. Donald Trump, he won tonight. We're in a better position now for his performance tonight. But we got to take this home. And I said this the other day. If you know someone who plans to vote for Biden and they have not put their ballot in yet, tell them to wait. Because the more people learn about Joe Biden, the more they regret having already voted for him. So even if they say it's a sure thing, tell them to wait. There's no fault in that, because if they really look at this man, no one can look at what this man has done and is doing and consciously decide that he's the man for them. Well, that's going to be it for this special edition of the podcast. If you like it, make sure you check out, as I said, our 2 p.m. Eastern, Monday through Friday live podcast on Facebook and YouTube. We also have an audio. Check us out, Apple Podcasts, Google Play, Spotify, all the places. Check us out there. And, I'm going to go say hi to my wife, thank her for lying about me puking, and then start watching it again. Well, that's going to be it for this edition of the special podcast. As I said, my name is Max McGuire.
And this is Joe Otto coming to you from Las Vegas, Nevada.
Now remember that the fight to take back our country clearly isn't over, but the only way we win is if we all stand and fight together.